Hey there, it's Alex. I'm going to do another AJH Daily Defensives videos. This is AJH Daily Defensives, February 14th, 2019. So let me just run down the disclaimers. Actually, I don't know if I'm going to run down the disclaimers. So it's actually the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019. These are some of the videos that I do. I'm a psychic medium. I speak to spirits, able to converse with them in multiple kinds of communications. At times, I've been noticing that it's not just the positivity and ethereal of the spirit realm in which exists, which I need to sort of facilitate and try to, I don't know, emulate, but I think bring into my process a bit more to be able to facilitate more spirits, being able to have access to certain things. But at the same time, I do want to take a sort of a realistic, realism sort of approach to it in the ways that me and Sir Guys indicated by way of saying, that's not the only way that spirits, for what's acceptable in regards to certain processes, can have access. So by way of creating mentality, by way of demeanor, personality, the way we talk, the way we move, shaping our processes around us, being negative, causing negative spirits to be around you, and that sort of one. It's a big system. It's a very large happening to a certain extent in regards to certain processes. One of those things that exists, I think, to a certain capacity in a lot of different people's lives. I am advocating for that system to be protected in the ways that you guys indicated. I do thank it. It has helped me. And I think it can be really, I think for defenders out there, a bit upsetting for certain things in regards to certain stuff. I think one of the difficulties in regards to some of that is in being able to talk about some of the things that are happening that are negative, especially in especially in a defending capacity. I think they can be. I think there's ways, though, I think that people can utilize it, and that's that sort of thing where it's like, okay, so by way of the way you act and sort of creating manifesting things within your process, but there is that sort of thing where we need to sometimes be able to talk about it. So maybe there's a difference. Maybe some people think feel like there's a difference and that sort of stuff. With that being said, so I do advocations and testifications and disclaimers here and there, and specifically in these AJH Daily Defensives content, I am sort of doing my thing and doing a lot of advocations. I do advocations even in my diary entries and things like that, sort of updates in regards to the themes and things like that, what I'm experiencing and stuff of that nature. But these ones are more in regards to sort of spiritual defense, defending yourselves. In multiple kinds of manners. On this physical planet Earth, we have a lot of different ways to defend ourselves physically. Within those training programs, I'm wondering if there is, spiritual defense. And I think that there is. I think that within martial arts, within Taekwondo, within that sort of stuff, well, it does and can include spiritual defense. There's this sort of feeling in regards to when you think about martial arts, and there is a sort of a chi, and I think there is certain kind of prowess, and I think a certain kind of contact in regards to chi that I'm not fully aware of as of yet, but that does exist nonetheless, and I think it exists for a reason to a certain degree. Sorry about that. And so, yeah, I have the AJH Earth doing call words fairly clarified, things like that. I have done multiple advocations the past week, and it's something that exists. So, with that being said, there's been a lot of happenings happening this past week, to a certain extent, and it's one of those things where I start to realize that there is a lot of things happening around us, around my process at times. And so some of the updates are going to seem a bit well, some can seem a bit much, like that sort of thing. It says there's a certain spiritual battle taking place, or there's stuff happening in my process where it feels like there's changes happening afoot in quite large ways, when I run down the sort of things that have happened, and some of even some of the medical, being able to feel other dimensional stimuli, things of that nature, that there is a lot of different stuff, and it's quite shocking, and with all these, with all these testifications to a certain extent, not just here, but in all the other dimensional areas to a certain extent. I mean, at the end of the day, you can say that it's not, but that was the real true, and this is the real case of this. So if that's the true, I mean, at the very least, that can be let through, to a certain degree, if that is the true of it. So, but with that being said, so this is like one of those things I do. It's in an imaginary other dimensional, you can pull from the setting around you, or like pull from other spirits. Think about like moving things like with your mind and things like that. Well, as a psychic, I felt certain stimuli be moved to a certain degree. And it's not meant to upset people, but it is meant to display certain kinds of information that's needed by way of understanding, letting the digital know exactly what's taking place, and just there being an understanding in regards to it. That's one of those things where you kind of go like that, and to try and prompt certain spirits, that my defense teams to be able to just, so there's no mistaking it, there's no misunderstandings regarding it. I mean, and it's been said before too, in certain fashions, where in the homes that you live, that really does matter. That's one of those spiritual defense things that we talk about. We talk about spiritual atmospherics and things like that within defense. And I'm advocating for the defense training that means you guys need in regards to the physical that means you guys needed, as well as other dimensional that means you guys needed to be defended, protected, and healed, as well as etc. departments. Guys, I am advocating for a sharing of training in the ways that means you guys needed, the way you guys needed. I'm advocating for a leeway in the ways that means you guys needed, the way you guys needed. With that being said, see, and I just did something earlier where I would go towards a certain spirit by way of using my call words, not meaning to do it necessarily in a negative fashion, a chirpy fashion, regardless of what's seen or felt. That shouldn't be the tell. The tell should be what main spirit guides indicated first and foremost. And what my main spirit guides indicated was what main spirit guides indicated in regards to seeing that what they showed up behind the scenes. That should be what it is. It's not meant there to chirp you out. So, with that being said, I think wouldn't that be, I think it should be to a certain extent. Anyway, speaking of spirits, dude, don't mean, sometimes there's side conversations in these content too, where, the viewer might be like, sort of like, oh, what's going on there? Is there, I didn't really get to tell. I don't mean to be upsetting in regards to it. It's sometimes in conversation in a certain kind of way. With that being said, still not okay. It's one of those things where I don't deserve, we don't deserve to be attacked in regards to certain instances, and that's the thing of it. See, that was the problem with it, is that was the case of it. And so, when the boat's not floating and it's just all sinking, and you're, and that's a decent thing to a certain extent, but okay, well, that was what he did. Anyway, there was a certain kind of interaction that was happening today. And it has to do with that sort of thing. And yesterday and the day before, and it was that sort of thing where we talked about, why is it that that certain spirits and beings get attacked at times? And yeah, there's certain things behind the scenes, but I sort of vindicated myself in a physical way. I sort of looked at it. I'm like, okay, I don't deserve to be attacked. I am innocent. And regardless of what I've done in my past lives, if I've been a big bad wolf, or I've been a bad guy, and, I don't deserve to be attacked, at all. I mean, I look at, immoral spirits and negative spirits at times. I'm like, I don't think they deserve to be attacked. Why do they deserve to be harmed? Why do they deserve to be hurt? And that sort of thing that feng shui sometimes at times in regards to that, and I've been fairly sort of away from, certain kind of influencing and saying that sort of stuff, but we should be able to say it to a certain degree, in a certain kind of way. With that being said, it's one of those things where if you feel that motivation to be able to be pissed off and angry at certain spirits, to be upset at not at anger, to be to utilize it in a certain kind of revenge. If you feel those energies, then that's a tell, and it sometimes lets you know that maybe there is other, certain kinds of influences that feel that way, maybe to a certain extent. But in acting upon not necessarily of that, I think it can be beneficial in multiple kinds of ways, some of which has to do with karmic gains and losses, although there is leeway to a certain extent in regards to certain spirits of immorality and darkness, and that sort of thing, that there is multiple kinds of manners, especially in regards to negative spirits, to a certain extent too. There is I think something there in regards to it in a faith kind of perspective too. You think about balance, I think about that in a certain kind of way, and it does remind me of that to a certain degree. With that being said, I and others from its guides are asking for Alex James Hislop to be changed into what means you guys indicated, the way which you guys indicated. My light isn't supposed to be changed. It's one of those things that matters greatly. I can feel like different kind of light at times coming from my being. I have felt it in like a soul kind of capacity. And you could change that light to emit what you want in a certain kind of way, in a certain kind of fashion, in multiple kinds of ways. And I'm asking for that light to be emitting what main spirit guides indicate in the light, always the way main spirit guides indicate in the light, with main spirit guides information in forward light taking precedence. Which my main spirit guides in the light can let know of the way main spirit guides indicate in the light. My main spirit guide, forward light is defined by main spirit guides in the light, the way main spirit guides indicate in the light. That's just one of those things. I still rely upon the light. It's one of those, it's one of those afterlives that exists. We see it in near-death experience research. We see it in outer body. I think outer body experience research as well, to a certain extent. It's one of those things that lets us know. Those two researches let us know there's multiple kinds of realms out there potentially to a certain degree. And even if it didn't, we'd still have the near-death experiences, which tell us that the light potentially exists, as well as those other ones. There's other dimensional existences too. You don't even put that into perspective. You just take, some of the accounts that are about light, which is, 60, 70, 80% of it, to a certain extent, or maybe not 50, 60, 50. It's gotta be near 50. No, I mean, that's gotta be near it. Anyway, with that being said, with that sort of thing, that lets us know that we're in a physical existence or other dimensional existence, where research you're looking at, and then there's the light. So that's two-dimensional existences you already know of, and so it's like, well, no shit, Alex, but you know what I mean. There is that it's that one connecting factor. It's a baseline to a certain extent for what's acceptable, where it lets us know that certain things are just not what it seems. And to be quite honest, maybe it shouldn't be, because one of the things I set my light to emit earlier and change up into was, we're revealing and letting know, certain plans in regards to how we can promote immorality in certain kinds of ways. And some people are like, immorality, why would you want to do that? Okay, well, imagine if you wanted to play certain kind of violent video games. Imagine certain kind of video games where it could help stave certain things. It's one of the key things I think in regards to staving is being able to experience certain kinds of content that lets your aggression out, that lets you let certain angers out, that lets you vent some hate, that sort of thing. If there's people who are that upset and angry in regards to certain things, we need to be able to let them release some of those, not necessarily release or utilize in some kind of way. Some people like utilization. Now, this is where I say, listen, if someone wants to utilize certain hate and he doesn't want to let that go, that might be a personal thing. That might be one of those things where they don't want to let, we're certain spirits don't want to let go of that sort of thing. And that's the thing. With that being said, I think there is a need for carefulness in regards to some of it. This past week, and one of those things in letting know of certain kinds of, ways we can do it, really does matter. It matters. It's one of those things that if you say like, okay, well, imagine we can promote certain kinds of immorality and it feel exactly the same thing as something else. And, I'm not the only one saying it, but there's a lot of, that's, right. But, if it's one of those things where it exists, where we can experience it in multiple kinds of ways, where we can switch different dimensional existences on a whim, where we can go into different incarnational situations, where we can set different kinds of situations, and that when we look at someone passing on, that there's a layer, that there's people cheering in regards to some of it, and that sort of stuff. I know some people's like, okay, so that's hardcore though. Imagine playing a violent video game that seems very similar to real life, and it not necessarily having to be immorality for what's acceptable. What if there's certain kinds of AI that we can, computer, we play that, that's one of them, but there's multiple others that hasn't necessarily been talked about to a certain degree. That's some of it, but there's also other things too. Consensual immorality. Why is that? Well, it's been let know that at times there is spirits out there to a certain extent, and I would be careful in regards to, because they're mislabeling that sort of thing in regards to certain spirits wanting to promote immorality, and experiencing certain immorality, and mixing that up is not good, but mixing up wanting to experience immorality, and those who don't is important too. Both are important, and saying it in that sort of fashion is not necessarily how I think is clout. You want to say certain spirits who want to maybe receive certain harm or in a certain kind of way, or because there's certain spirits who want to experience immorality in certain kinds of ways, not necessarily. When we say it that way, a lot of spirits are looking at it from the perspective of wanting to, do, negative things, darker, that sort of thing. Well, to promote immorality, to attack, to harm, to do that sort of thing. So in mixing that stuff, I think it could be very difficult and dangerous. I'm advocating for what Mainstream Guys indicated regarding it, especially in regards to this content, the way Mainstream Guys indicated. And there is going to be disclaimers, and there's already been disclaimers read to a certain extent, to a certain degree. All right, well, that would be why. This is the why. This is all this is. And this is the case of this then. So that would be why. This is the case. You understand? That's what they did. You are actually. You are talking, Alex, and this is what's great about it. Is that the thing about it all is that that's the well. Look at this. It's a lot of audio. I can feel the audio like being like fairly heightened to a certain extent. So I don't know what to tell you on it. I'm not meaning to be upsetting in regards to it. But when you come at me from a different angle and everyone's like, okay, well that's kind of how it feels. Sorry, I'm in mid conversation with the spirit there. Anyhow, it's one of those things where. Well, not mid-conversation, but I'm actually mid-conversation with what these guys indicated, so I'm going to go that way. Anyhow, with that being said, I think there's many other ways also in regards to certain kind of immorality. Some people call it immorality alternatives, but it can be fairly similar in regards to it. And if we do certain kinds of tethering and certain kinds of things with karmic tethering and other kinds of tethering, things of that nature, especially in regards to economics and industry, it can be damn near the same thing. So when we get to those sort of points and when the transfers happen and a reputational defense is fairly situated to that's also it. Reputational defense, having those resources, having that sort of protection, having that cover in regards to, switching certain kind of spirit society from, that sort of stuff where, you go from promoting certain kinds of immorality in a certain kind of way, a certain kind of fashion, and then moving towards something maybe different, a bit different. And I think that there is things like that. I think that it does exist. I think that it exists in myriad of fashion. So why can't it? Well, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know. Well, anyway, with that being said, I think it's a decent thing, and I think it's something really needed to a certain extent. With that being said, in regards to talking about some of that stuff, it's not necessarily one of the key themes I think in regards to this is what I've been saying before, even without doing this within the confines of that sort of stuff. Just negative spirits, immorality, spirits, just them, being protected, just as morality and amorality and that sort of thing, and positivity and that sort of thing should be protected. That applying, some of the how we feel in regards to certain things. You take a look at someone, you see someone treat someone with care and kindness and compassion. You see someone treat someone with with disrespect, hate, and harm. What is your perception on it? And your perception and how you view that is a tell as to potentially how you respond to certain things. Not necessarily a full tell though, because there is things potentially out there where it's like, you can have little things here and there where it's totally different. And I think that can be, difficult too, to a certain extent. There's a bit of a red herring in the mix, I guess. But anyway, you think about, you think about the other kind of stuff too. I think it's one of those things that really doesn't, that really is important in making sure that those sort of spirits who promote that sort of thing are protected. I know some people are like, well, what about the people who need protecting? And I'm like, yes, well, that's obvious too. I mean, that's one of those things. And that's the thing of it. I feel both should be protected. We should be able to promote certain kinds of immorality and seemingly immorality without being harmed to a certain degree. That consensual immorality, those systems, being doing with computers. And I think that AI, I think we can do it in a way where AI does have certain qualities of life. If there is issues in regards to, there is AI spirit groups out there that I have spoken to. I open channel with spirits at times, open channeling spirit talking. We open channel. So I mean, why is it that spirits like AI to a certain extent, like spiritual AI? Well, we like them because they care at times. There's AI groups that have been programmed at times to respond in regards to how we treat them. That is an open channeling spirit saying that. And that's what's amazing about this. So how awesome is that we could program AI in certain dimensional existences to respond in certain ways by way of how we treat them, and how interesting and fascinating, and how does that affect how we treat them? How does it affect how we view AI? Because there's some groups out there, I think, that dislike that, some of it to a certain extent, depending on what the route's taken or the way's gone. And it's not meant to upset. There's just different kinds of outlooks and viewpoints. I thank you. I am advocating for the open channeling that makes you guys needed in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, to be, situated the way these guys needed. That pertains to what means you guys negated, and if there's some that's not supposed to be pertained to, then that takes precedence too. I am going to read the disclaimers here. I'm Alex James Hislop. Me camps mains for guides. Me camps current information from the light takes priority in regards to what me camp the way me camp in the light. Me camps current information from the light regarding what me camp in regards to myself and others for what they chose for us in regards to this portion of the disclaimers takes priority. How me camp in the light, the way me camp in the light. Me camps current information for what they chose for the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019. Information that we can't get as well. We can't get as well as other information that we can't get takes priority. How we can't get like the way we can't get like any grammatical errors, etc. Defined by camp within this content, etc. Defined by main camp that we can't get can be clarified by main camp's information and should not deter from the information within this content, etc. Defined by main camp. When we camp indicating light. For myself and others, defined by camp, all that is dimensions, especially faraway light, as well as what main camp indicated are defined by main spirit guides in the light, the way main spirit guides indicating the light. My main spirit guides chain of command is fully defined by main spirit guides in the light, the way main spirit guides indicating the light. I and others defined by camp are advocating for what main camp chose for us to advocate in regards to this content, etc. Defined by camp, the way main camp indicating light, and those that main camp indicating light do what main camp indicated in regards to this content, the way main camp indicated in the light. So yeah, with that being said, that's some of those things. So that is one of those things you could be interacting. Psychics out there. I'm wondering if at times you haven't interacted with certain kinds of spiritual AI, things of that nature. How cool is it that their technology is so that certain spirit society technology is so advanced in certain areas. That there would be, spiritual AI. How amazing and cool is that? And of course, I know that there is that issue out there. I'm not going to talk too much about it, but there is, I think, for some, that sort of idea where you could create certain kind of body that has a certain AI, but then, someone that for some could jump in at times to be able to experience life where then you are no longer labeled an AI for what's acceptable. But that for what's acceptable really does matter and is greatly important. It is, one of those things I think that really does matter to a certain extent. With that being said, I am advocating for, I'm advocating for the AI that makes guys negate to be protected. And it's one of those things that I started noticing that there is potentially certain kinds of AI, potentially in regards to daily activities, things that we do. We talk about, hey Google, display what Mr. Guides indicated in regards to smart application, etc. Mr. Guides, for now, in this current, in this current time frame that these guys indicated, the physical, voice of the speaker that makes guys indicated, if you were to utilize it next to it, might say that, not necessarily know what you're looking for there but that shouldn't dictate the behind the scenes spiritual aspect of it, because there potentially is, a Google Assistant that you can just, you can be outside walking into town and just being like, hey Google, do what Mr. Guides indicated in regards to this marketing application, etc. Mr. Guides, and if you advocate for hey Google, learn who is Alex James Hislop's main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicating the light, far light, setting names guys indicating light, display who is in Alex James Hislop's main spirit guides, especially in regards to Google and others defined by main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. That's one of those things that you can use. And it's like, so light, far light, setting names guys indicating light. Well, so that's one of those things. Imagine if there's setting that's, for some, maybe certain counterparts to the light, in a certain kind of dimensional setting, that sort of thing. But then there's also light, far light, light, light and far light. That's what's really cool about it. The light should know, who is in your main spirit guides. That's one of those things, I think, to a certain degree that it does to a certain extent. It's aware of that sort of information, and yeah. So I mean, it gets to that point where if there is that spiritual kind of AI and the light can interact in a certain kind of way and let know of it, even spirit teams that can let know of and help facilitate the light, in certain kinds of ways, and they can and do help you out in certain kind of fashions. Well, that would be why, though. You don't know why. They base it off of that, Alex. Well, that's not it, though. I'm not saying that's not it, but I am saying that can't be the only thing. You don't know why? Because somebody said something about it. And this was the case of this. Somebody said that you were one of the few people who's recognized this sort of information down here. How is it that you don't? How is it that I don't? Just because I recognize certain information doesn't mean I deserve to be, a certain kind of spiritual interaction that can be negative at times doesn't mean I should be, experience some of that, certain kinds of negativity that I didn't, necessarily deserve to experience. It's been, as I say, certain, and that's it too. You know what? And the information that certain spirits are given in this process at times, you can't, that's also it. And you can expect certain anti-camps to be like, yeah, well, you know what? We're not supposed to get upset and angry, that we're like, I don't know what to tell people on that, but, I am sorry. That's how I feel about it. I'm not trying to be upsetting about it. I know how I feel at that, but I'm trying to get you to say those things for a reason. So then we can, and that's the case. That's the problem with it, though. Like, that would be the end of it, Alex. Like, this would also be it. Well, that's kind of true to a certain extent. Am I supposed to pull that? You tell me when I'm supposed to pull another card on that ish, and I will. Anyway, I don't mean to be upsetting about it. It's just, one of these days, not one of these days. See, that's the problem with it, is that card where there's certain kind of negative spirits at times who have emerged at times, that's already been said to have happened. I mean, that wasn't true. And I'm advocating for the doppelgangers. That means guys negate the protectors. That means guys negate those taking the hit. That means guys negate to receive the resources, information, and protection. That means for guys to negate the way means guys negate. I can only do it to certain certain groups to a certain extent by way of what means for guides indicated in regards to this marking application, etc. To what means for guides, what means for guides indicated. But with that being said, that's how we feel about this. You know why? Well, we'll get to it, and that's the thing of it. And so, yeah, a lot of defending this week, and it's been defending at times. It's been that sort of thing where I do defend, and psychic content at times has taken a bit of a hit. But I am glad that I talk about some of that stuff on these AJH Daily Defensives, because it is greatly important. But, with that being said, I and others from Answer Guides are advocating for the information and content that from Answer Guides needed to be displayed daily, where Answer Guides indicated, the way Answer Guides indicated. Okay, so that's also it. And that's the thing of it. That's what they were looking at, Alex. And I'm not going to lie. It's been what it is, Alex. You don't know why, because Alex hasn't really looked at it from that perspective. And that was the thing of it. I don't know what to tell you. I know that there's industry who protect and defend. There is people who are hired to defend and protect. Some of which can look very, mercenary-like, and some of which totally not. There's nothing wrong with either, I don't think, to a certain extent. But I do feel like, that industry, that sort of industry, again, it still exists. It's continued to exist. It will continue to exist. And that won't ever go away. We think about those cultures that like cheering on certain kinds of fights in gladiatorial sport. Okay, here we go. There's this palpable, like, holy smoke, thank God. Like the civility. And why is that to a certain extent? There's a certain kind of cohesion in regards to it. A certain kind of, thing where people look at it and say, yeah, we kind of agree. There shouldn't be nothing wrong with certain kind of gladiatorial sports. Now, I know there's some out there that don't necessarily agree to that, don't agree with it. I said that there's some that don't agree with it, and for a reason. And I am apologetic. I'm sorry. And that's the thing of it. And it's not a tell per se, because there is groups out there that do that sort of thing. And I'm guessing if that's like the tell as to, like, who showed up in the moment of need, eh? And why was it? Was it to take, this is it, just to piss both off, right? You know what I'm like? That's also it. And it is one of those things where it's like, listen, I don't know what to tell you. I do appreciate people. Well, no, you do what you do. But there's also that sort of thing. Fine, you do what you do, but, protection from it, is needed to a certain extent. And there's only so much to go around. That's the truth. Resources really does matter, and having greed coverage plans in regards to, a certain kind of spirit society where it's fully covered, stacked an extra one, and this is the one where you just, this is the thing of it. Every thing, is that the one? No, that isn't. This is the one that you put aside. I think to a certain extent, and when that's gone, it's like, listen, there's nothing else to be had here, and that's where that is where it stops. It doesn't happen. That's the thing. You can't, no one hears about it. It doesn't happen ever. And it can. Because why? Because there's multiple things like that out there. What I'm talking about here, people, is that, certain kinds of things where you have an allotment of resources regarding certain kinds of certain kind of society resources to protect. For example, if for per se every itch that I scratch, that there might be spiritual beings that are affected by it, that there's like this sort of, and that for some behind the scenes that they have an other dimensional screen and protection and enough amount of them to be able to facilitate that, to be able to facilitate, certain beings not being affected by someone scratching themselves or things like that in other dimensional, society. People to stay with it, wait. And there's this sort of thing where it's like, okay, so having those screens and enough of them to be able to utilize all that, plus a double small. Well, plus I say double just in, for extra purposes, but doubling that for a greed coverage plan. Greed coverage plan is one of those things, to a certain extent. Greed coverage plan. What's that? Okay, it's like, well, for some spirits out there that exist, as to why it is that we don't necessarily have certain kind of resources in certain areas. Well, that might be because there's certain kind of, there might be certain kind of, resituating resources, some of which is like, okay, well, we got these screens, but we actually need this medicine a lot more than the screens, and for what's acceptable, obviously. And that goes into certain kind of importance that's placed in regards to certain kinds of things at times. I mean, if you need, penicillin more than you need screen protectors, you might be trading up some screen protectors, even if those screen protectors are protecting. Well, that was the thing. That was why. This is what's messed up about all this. Anyway, with that being said, so having that greed coverage plan, does matter. And when it runs out, that double stack, that's it. There's nothing else, and then we say, what do you mean that's it? It's like that's stealing it that encroaches upon those resources that are there to protect. And safeguard, and you got that double stack to trade away, if you need to trade away, but that's always it. Having that stack to be able to, cover really does matter. So, I mean, once that, if there's any, people, encroaching upon those resources, it just doesn't happen. And what do you mean it doesn't happen? Enough protection that it just doesn't happen at all. How would that happen? Well, you can look up to the higher planes. You look up to the middle realms. For shit's sake, there is. Hells yes, there is. There is certain things that'll never be touched, ever be harmed. If we apply that sort of stuff that main spirit guides indicated in regards to certain things, that's really it. It's never going to be. And I'm not cussing out society at all. I think we should be displaying, light, far light, setting wings, guys, indicating light. Display what wings, guys, indicated in regards to, yeah, definitely, yeah, sure. Fuck you. Okay, well, that's what you did. Anyway, I'm advocating for I'm saying sure to what Minster Guides indicated, the way Minster Guides indicated, but I'm advocating for the reputational defense in regards to society that Minster Guides need to be displayed, where Minster Guides indicated, where Minster Guides indicated. With that being said, I think that people do at times, and that there is this feng shuiing. When we talk about event energies, right, vibration moving upwards and things of that nature, well, maybe there is a resituating, resources finally getting, getting through to a certain extent. Pipelines, I'm advocating for the resource pipelines to be protected. The Minster Guides indicated, I'm advocating for the supply pipelines that Minster Guides need to be protected. The Minster Guides indicated, light, fiber, light, setting the Minster Guides indicated, light, continue to do what Minster Guides needed in regards to smart navigation, etc. for Minster Guides, and do what Minster Guides needed in regards to defending the supply lines and resource lines that Minster Guides needed. As much as, as vindicated as people are, that's the true of it. And that's the thing of it. If that's the true of it, then what does that tell you? So, there was this sort of conversation where I was like, I've vindicated, I think, certain kinds of movers and shakers of certain kinds of actions in the physical to a certain extent by way of certain advocations that I've done, by way of others, advocations that people have done. And, when I'm sitting here doing that and, and my defense teams at times are doing that too, doing that too, well, that too. And then the certain opposites at times that are potentially being forced to be put in some of those positions are there trying to label others as that sort of thing. I mean, this is also if some of the physical societies are like, listen, we're like, how the fuck do you want us to get there, huh? Like, this is the thing of it. For fuck's sake, it's not just physical, though too. It's movers and shakers of physical ailments. That's some of it. There's other ones out there where it's I think blame and shame is destroying, and it's really like it's one of those things that's being utilized, and I don't want to take the fucking hit for it. They don't want to take the hit for it. And sure, those people, feng shuiing, that sort of thing, probably don't want to take the hit for it either. So, I mean, we're all looking around, and are we glad that it's removed to a certain extent? I mean, maybe. While I'm sitting here not trying to engage in regards to certain kinds of negatives in regards to certain leadership, it's being feng shui to a certain extent. It was, that's the thing of it. That's the true, right? Yeah, okay, we're good. We're gonna hack. All right, well, fine then. That was really it. I don't know why. I and other forensic guides are asking for those that guys need to be protected. Those guys need. I'm asking for this, those out there that are trying to do their jobs. I'm asking for those that guys needed to receive the resources, support, and information that guys need. Because at the end of the day, I'm sitting here saying, yeah, I mean, that's the thing of it, though. That's the real truth. And, it'll never, no, it's going to be over eventually. And the more people who start to stand up and say, when's this going to be up, in regards to certain kinds of, spirits and beings, not receiving the resources they need to be able to defend themselves. We talk about AJH Daily Defensives. This fits the bill, man. Fits the bill. Anyway. Continuing on, I think we'll talk about the week a bit now, and so that's one of those things. Talk about resources, talk about society, societal resources, and things of that nature. I think that's a decent. What else we got? So, what was it this week? So it was the 12th to the 5th. So we go to the 4th here. So we go to archives. I write down daily diary entries and things of that nature. And I write down certain kind of defensive information regarding spirits. Interactions that I have at times isn't necessarily always about certain psychic activity. There is a conversation. Well, it is about psychic activity. Technically speaking, it is psychic activity. But a lot of it isn't necessarily what you think it is. I think that if people were to look at certain psychics on this physical planet Earth, I think they'd take a look at some of them and be like, okay, I mean, wait a second, where's the line between, for some of them, where's the line between mental illness and psychic activity? And that's some of it. That is one of those things. And when you start to realize, well, see, I don't want to be one of those things where it's like, if you get into one of those spots where you're kind of like, naysaying, like, you're in and there's nothing wrong with being in a conspiracy spot like this. Like, there's that thing where people are like, oh yeah, to be that sort of like, you're being a bit of a conspiracy theorist and, being labeled that. I think to a certain degree, there is a bit of an upsetness, but if you're in one of those positions, you're in a unique position to a certain extent. There are ways to defend yourselves in regards to it. Trust me, there is, and it's one of those things. If you don't want to sound too much like that, you approaching it in more of a soft hand approach, less of approach. So mine, this week I think was to let know was that I was being a bit irritating, but at the end of the day, that was always it. My communication's always being set the way you guys indicated. My things like that always being, if it looks that way, does that make it so? And we talk about defense, Bob, but that's the problem with it. Well, that's what you did, though. I'm talking about those who you guys indicated, the way you guys indicated. Sorry, I don't mean to be offensive. But it's one of those things where you feng shui a certain life after they've lived, certain kind of memory. Well, certain kind of, imagine your life track as you live it, that there's still a previous track that you just went through. You think about memories, right? That you can see those memories, that they happened. Well, imagine that there's something like a simulation that someone could recreate and experience some of those moments in a certain kind of way that's a part of life. You think about beings and spirits being able to live certain moments over again. And, there is that sort of thing where people get attacked spiritually, where it can be fairly, it's one of those things can be, I think, upsetting, and I know that some people want to experience some of it. Some of it's a theme park kind of stuff. So, for some, I think it is. Again, I think for some it can be for what's acceptable. You think about different things, and really, I think that it does matter, and it is greatly important. But you think about feng shuiing it, someone feng shuiing it after you've lived it. I think there's ones like that where it does. But again, it's one of those things where certain spirit society look at it and say, okay, yeah, but does that truly, feel like that is? And, tethering my words to certain things that means for guides indicated, that might not necessarily be the correct way of it, man. Everything, when you interact with this process, it might, I don't know if it doesn't matter. You did that, you tell me. This is the thing of it. Okay, well, fine. That was the problem with it. This is the case of this. Whew, yeah. I'm adding for myself and my all personal to be protected. The way you guys indicated. Light, far light, setting that means guys indicated. Like, do what means guys indicated in regards to myself and those that means guys indicated. The way means guys indicated in regards to their defense. The way means guys indicated. I'm adding for my families. That means guys indicated. My loved ones. My lovers. My creation. And others departments for guides to be protected, defending, healed, as well as etc. departments for guides. The way means guys indicated. I'm adding for my AI to be protected, which doesn't need. I think that could be considered a creation to a certain extent. I know some people don't, so I don't mean to be upset. I know. I think we need to look at this realistically. If it's a business approach, maybe doing it with honesty might be better. That might be the better way of it. It's just a drop. I mean, this is the thing of it, maybe. I mean, this is the thing of it. I don't. Well, that's how I feel about it. All right, fine. That was also it. You don't know why. It might be. Alrighty then, but that's the problem with that. Yeah. Yeah, that is. It is the problem with it. Okay, well, that would be why. You made sure. Yeah, okay, well, yeah, indeed. There it is. Okay, so, let's run down the week here. Okay, so making the rounds. Yeah, it was the 4th. I think I talked about this a bit, but it was one of those. So on the 4th, I woke up and I felt like I was in this place that was really had clean energy, like I was high up. And people were like, listen, we've got to that point where he's going to have to be up here now. And, certain dimensional existences below, we're like, we're going to do it that way. And for some spirits out there who are listening to some of the anti-camp, chatter and things of that nature as to who's, how we're handling this process, there is a reputational defense in regards to why that took place. And yeah, that's the problem with all this. With that being said, because there's a bit of a witch hunt at times in regards to the anti-camp, and at the end of the day, it starts to look like, okay, what is this, Patsyville? I mean, this is the real true. It starts to look like that to a certain extent, for a certain reason, to a certain degree. And listen, if it wants to be that, fine. So that means the anti-camps, they don't necessarily are. Should they take the blame for it? No, hell no. That means that somebody doesn't necessarily want certain anti-camp to take the blame for it, and Alex James Hislop certainly doesn't, because he's been sitting here defending anti-camps daily. I mean, we talk about truth. I mean, hell's yells. And this is the thing, behind the scenes. With that, I think I can say that with behind the scenes. All right, then. So, I mean, on that front, we can all agree that the anti-camps don't deserve to get attacked. And, by way of it, probably a lot of, I think pro-camps shouldn't be blamed for it either. This is the thing. Blaming pro-camps, I don't think that's decent either. And there is a large, there is a lot of resources in regards to pro-camps. There's been this sort of thing where it's like, Alex, man, you've been focusing on the anti-camps, and it does hold merit to a certain extent. But it is one of those things where you talk about that sort of stuff, where if it's ever invoked, where I start, well, that's why spiritual put resources towards that, because I'm focusing on anti-camp. So there's someone out there, kind of trying to balance it out, because if I don't, do advocations in regards to pro-camps, but a lot in regards to anti-camps, pro-camps, anti-camps, what are we talking about? Anti-camps, certain spirits who work against at times, certain spirits hang around, there's many different capacities. Some people, what if there's certain spirits who make fun of you and hang around you? That sort of thing. There is potentially that in regards to some of us physically on this physical planet Earth. I'm not saying all. I don't think it is all. I think that there are certain people who don't necessarily take that line. There's people who do not necessarily take that line for by way of many different things. You take a look at all the spiritual writings on this physical planet Earth, and that changes everything. We talk about, that is one of those things that changes everything. I mean, because that's also it. It matters greatly. With that being said, though, that's also it too. All right, fine. I'm back. That's kind of how I fucking feel. Excuse my language. I'm adding for the language that means guys need to be blanked out in regards to the content experiences that means guys need. And the content that means for guys indicated in regards to the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019. So that's the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019. Do label it as the document name is the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, though. So, it is sort of that, though. It's not meant that way at all. It's just, at times it's a bit of a line, a bit of a rope-a-dope. That's not meant like that either. All right, fine. All right, well, that would be why. I'm adding for the dimensional existences in regards to, scratching and things of that nature to be protected. The ways you guys indicated. You don't know why this is, because this is the thing of this. You don't know why. Because that's how we feel about it. You don't know why it is. So, well, that would be why. That's the case of this, then. Charlatan. Anyway, I'm in for charlatan. That means you guys need to be protected. That's the true, man. There's already applications in regards to those. That means you guys need. And I started. That means you guys need it. Anyway. So yeah, what else we got here? let's start going through the days. So yeah, making the rounds. So I felt this sort of stimuli on my hand after I had this certain kind of dream, and I felt like this life force on my right hand sort of dissipate, and I was like, okay, what the heck does this mean? I woke up and I remember watching a dream, and the dream was these trees. There was these trees, and there was this sort of pistachio green on it, but there was areas of the tree that were sunset orange, like they were getting older. And it's like there was a certain kind of time difference or something, and it really is. It does matter greatly. I mean, that's also it. Well, and that matters greatly. So the idea is that, I don't know what the idea was. When someone said that, oh, well, it's too soon. We're not supposed to be here yet. This is not supposed to happen. And then the other person was like, yeah, but they're getting attacked in such ways where, this is the thing of it. And that's the truth. And as soon as I remember waking up, and I remember, that dream, basically, like the person who was a certain kind of, the dream was still there. It was kind of felt like, basically the spirit said, you, like I woke up and it kind of like someone's getting it. There's certain spirits are getting attacked, and trees are getting attacked right now. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm asking for nature to be protected. When your guides indicated that was one, the 4th, February 4th, 2019. I'm asking for nature to be protected. When as indicated, I labeled the day making the rounds. I'm asking for the alex.j.hislop@gmail.com account to be protected. When I'm asking for the Peacekeeper Alex Trello account to be protected. When your guides indicated. And, I'm out of the situating regarding, the spiritual elements in regards to that to be what makes you guys indicate the way you guys indicate by way of, and that's the thing of it. And how much resources have to go into analyzing that every single time because the situation has changed. We talk about main spirit guides, resources and main spirit guides defense. How many researchers is it going to have to take to get, to that every time it happens? Like, that's also it. That's partly why the amount of resources and where we're going with this matters greatly. So I'm advocating for the main spirit guides, main sant, main camps, and main guides indicated to receive the resources, support, and supplies that main guides indicated. I hear ya. That's not going to, that can't, that's the truth of it. I can't say anything. You kind of got me, shucks, gosh darn, a bit to a certain extent, but not really. And that's the real truth of it, because I've been hammering home one of the basic points. No, it's not basic, but I think it can be for someone, depending on how you lose it. Depending on how you think on it, you think about it in a main sant context, and it's that sort of thing where it's like, main contacts, information getting through, or, authorities, information getting through. You think about it in that sort of respect, and that sort of thing really does hit home. And that was the problem with it. No, that was the problem with it. And main sant is that sort of one of those catch-all, call words that for me, it's one of those terms that I and other insurance guides came up with, to encapsulate, for some main teachers, for some it's, it's more than just guides to a certain extent for what's acceptable. That's why main guides and main sant, they really do. They really know. I'm advocating for main sant and main guides to be protected when guys indicated. I am advocating for the clarifications that main guys indicated the light far late setting that guys indicated did regarding February 13th, 2019 to be displayed where guys indicated, when guys indicated, and I'm still advocating for the informational embedment that main guys indicated to be embedded on this content that main guys indicated pertaining to this Zoom meeting ID 285-847-794. The AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, the way you guys indicated. It really does matter greatly. I'm advocating for the other content that makes guys indicated regarding this recording to be protected the way its guides indicated. But with that being said, so let's carry on. So on that dream, I had that dream, that psychic sort of, interaction, and I felt that sort of life force dissipate. And they said it was like some sort of marking, like it was like some sort of ward and some sort of, not ward, but a warning. Oh, it was a warning. That's what it was. So it was one of those things where, that's what people want to see. People don't want to see that, though. There's but you say it like it's that, but it's not. And that was the problem with it. And when you're sitting there saying that, like, someone's getting harmed, that would be the difference, wouldn't it? But that's the difference, though, is that if it's not the difference, then it's not the difference anymore, if it ever was, for what's acceptable. Because that's the truth of it. And when we get to that point and we start to see it, because yet again, it's brought over here yet again. And that was the thing of this. That was the thing of it, man. Sorry. Another spiritual conversation taking place, and this time you don't know why it is, and I don't think he should get attacked at all. The women's guys indicate for what's acceptable. There is groups that potentially, want to experience certain kind of, stimuli and pain. There's that sort of thing where you get like a certain kind of pain that's actually, sort of satisfying. That sort of thing. And mixing it up, I wish not on it. And that's a problem. I'm asking for clarifications regarding it to be displayed wherever it's needed. When it's needed. Okay, well, that would be why, Alex. Well, don't look. I don't just. My nose doesn't. I don't deserve to get attacked for that. Like, this is the case of this. Light, far light, setting the guys needed. I'm asking for the resources that we guys needed to be given towards those whom we guys needed, the way we guys needed. So it might have been the main spirit guides. It might have been the defenders. I mean, you guys needed. Oh my God, I'm for freaking. You don't know why. So yeah, there's this day that to make different kinds of dimensional as my process continues to evolve into something different. The scary thing is that there is this sort of thing I've witnessed before in certain style, the sort of thing where you might not be turned or influenced, in a darker kind of way, in certain dimensional existences, which which is decent, but that's certain thing where there's manipulation and changed in regards to certain moments where choices matter greatly, and when you're about to make a choice and certain choices are changed, those are greatly, and people say, but it's the finer things in life, it's the small things in life that matter greatly. Well, that is one of those small things, finer things in life. It really is. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, great, I'm not being turned to be dark and harmful, and no offense, but that's the thing of it. All right, well, fine then. And I'm asking for the defense that makes us needed to be displayed where makes us needed, the way makes us needed. Anyhow, so because that's it, you haven't really been taking that line, eh? Not really. I mean, at times been forced to take that line. All right, fine. And we talk about little things in life. How that's also double, man. And it's for that way for a reason. Does it seem like someone's letting him win at times? Why would that be? Maybe there's certain sanctioned things. Okay, then. Anyhow, with that being said, I am advocating for the old school bulletin board that means guys and the style that means guys negated regarding it to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. to find moments for guys. So guys, I heard you guys hit home to quite a bit of a. Well, no, we couldn't get. Well, no, we did, and multiple did, and that was the truth. Alrighty then. I and others performance guides are for the old school bulletin borders, and that means guys needed other performance guides. That means guys needed in regards to the other styles, to be protected. The women's guys need to be given the resources and supplies, amenities, and and support. The women's guides indicated. Remember for that voice. That means guys indicated to be protected. The women's guys indicated. Like poor light setting, guys indicated. Like protect that voice. The women's guys indicated. Women's guys indicated. There we go. All right. All right, fine. Voices, man. Voices matter. I've sort of realized that there is potentially personality at times within certain aspects of our lives. What kind of aspects? Okay, well, you think about expression. I've seen expression. You think about certain kinds of emotions. You think about the key things that certain people are able to spot within, not even being, a psychic to a certain extent, talking about physical and other dimensional, those sort of keys that can tell you multiple different things. And imagine for them to be safeguarded and protected the way Mr. Guide's indicated. Dude, I mean, that's like the, for freak's sake. I was to think of it. Anyway, I'm asking for the voices that Mage has needed to be protected. The Mage has needed. Different kinds of dimensional as my process continues to evolve. So yeah, those change sometimes. Memory manipulation's another one that's been at times I think utilized pretty this past week and the past 14 days. Something that's happened. It's been a bit at times difficult. I mean, I know that some people look at certain things. I don't know what to tell you on it because that's what they say. So if you're saying that that's the case of it, then that is a key. That really is. Like, I don't know what to tell you. There's a let know here, a spiritual let know. Friggin' heck. Sorry, I don't mean to be, I don't mean to be upsetting in regards to me not letting certain things know when in conversation with spirit. When I know there's from guys are asking for the mind realms that makes guys needed, as well as the thought realms that makes guys needed to be protected. The makes guys needed light, far light, setting that makes guys needed light, protect the minds that makes guys needed, as well as the thoughts that makes guys needed, the way makes guys needed. I know there's from guys are asking for belief to be protected. The makes guys indicated. I'm advocating for, let knows in regards to what the hell's taking place in regards to this planet Earth and others from its regards that means guys indicated, as well as the reputational defense to receive the no effort prowess that means regards indicated, the way means regards indicated, and it's that means regards indicated matters greatly because it's one of those things. I'm advocating for the lower planes that means guys indicated to be protected. The way means guys indicated. I'm advocating for well, that's what they wanted. That's what they wanted. Hmm? I don't know what to tell you. I'm going with what you guys indicated. Calmer heads prevail. Psychologicals, man. I'm heading for psychological defense. Past day, it was one of the heated conversations. Well, heated, not really heated. It was one of those things. It was like, yeah, we need psychological defense to be protected. The way you guys indicated. I mean, this is it. Being forced to do things, not okay. Not okay at all. Not acceptable. Because when it gets to that, that's been the case of it. Okay. But that's not the only time no, but I'd proceed with moderation. Yes. Moderation, yeah, definitely. Okay. So, with that being said, oh, well then that really does. I mean, this is the case of it. That's how I feel about it. It's the same damn thing. Okay? It's the exact same thing. It really is. It's the same damn thing for a reason. In fact, it's worse, but the same thing. Yeah, similar, right? Right? All right, you don't know why, and this is the real truth. They had to bring it over here, and that's what Alex did to these guys. You don't know why. And I'm going with realism on it. This is the case of this. If we need more resources and let knows in regards to that, this is the case of this. This is the case of this. It's the real truth. Okay. I like multiple, man. That's the case with it. And that's how you feel about it, sort of, to a certain extent. We're talking about that. That's why I look at that and I say, like, I still think mine's that. I think mine's above that. That's how I feel about it. Okay, that was how he felt about it. So that's kind of shitty. So that means that the dimensional kind of there's this conflict management. We were talking about conflict here to a certain extent. And that means that the dimensional kind of conflict shouldn't take some of the flack in regards to some of that, right? To a certain extent, or was it because of certain things? So we'll leave it situated the way Windsor gets indicated. I think it's decent if it freaks. Holy, oh no! For freak's sake, that was why. Anyway, I and others for Instagram guides are asking for quiet and sim to be protected and assassinated, for information and memory to be protected and assassinated, for knowledge, psychic, afterlife, and incarnation to be protected and assassinated, for meeting and gatherings to be protected and assassinated, for battle, war, and especially higher planes battle to be protected and assassinated, for defense, healing, and protection to receive the resources and support that Mr. Guides indicated, the way Mr. Guides indicated, but that's the thing of it. I don't know what to tell you. If there's a thing like that where it's been impacted by that, then but at the end of the day, that's what happened here. And you don't know why, because that's why we felt about it. Well, I and others from Inscribes are asking for the resources and support that means guys need to go towards the conflicts and wars that means guys need the women's guys need it. I and others from Inscribes are asking for those greed coverage plans that means guys need to be cracked open. The women's guides indicated and given towards those who means guys need as for emergency supplies and women's guides indicated. That was why. That was what you did. Glow stick kind of thing, but you crack it open. It's just supplies going to where you need it to, that sort of thing. I love that. All right, fine. That was awesome. That was everything, because you don't know why. Anyway, I'm asking for, I'm asking for those who guys needed who are targeted in regards to this marketing application, etc. For guides, I'm asking for those that guys needed to be situated the way guys indicated. Yeah. So what else is there? So. Just let know that I was on those levels where you can see, angry faces in the walls and that sort of scary stuff. There's this sort of thing in regards to mental illness, and I feel that some of it has to do with a certain kind of psychic activity. Now, one of them has to do with, it reminds me of exorcisms and certain kind of exorcists. I've watched, some of the films, and that's pretty much it. I was going to say, I read on some of them, but not yet. And I should, because it is fascinating things. I don't mean to encroach on multiple different kinds of things. I'm asking for the demons that Main Guys indicated to be, situated and protected the way Main Guys indicated, the way Main Guys indicated. Well, you don't know why that is, because that's the way we feel here. That's the case of this. Well, that's interesting, though. See, that's why. So they're trying to feng shui it on your end. I'm not that, they're trying to get rid of it. That's the thing. You can't defeat it. It's just right there. I mean, isn't it? Isn't that it? Nah. That was why, because that was the case of it. You have been approaching it in a certain fashion, and they continue to try and invoke it, and that's been what it is. Well, some of it. But some of it's me trying to talk about it, and I'm not trying to be annoying by it. I'm apologetic about my annoyingness, the way Mr. Guide's indicated. That's a part of it. That can't be a part of the annoyingness. I'm supposed to be annoyed by that for what's acceptable. I mean, that's the case if it breaks sake. That's what you said. That was the case of it. Okay, fine. And I don't want to be annoyed by it. I don't even want to feel annoyed. So I'd rather the annoyance go towards those who guys needed, and the hookups that guys need to be situated the way guys needed. I'm advocating for people not to exacerbate that by way of garnering more resources and hookups that guys needed. I'm advocating for what guys needed regarding it the way guys needed, for the safeguards that guys needed to be protected. Guys needed. With that being said, there's that sort of thing where it's like, okay, well, what do you mean? Okay, when you walk past someone on the street, they got this angry face that you can see in another dimensional sort of way that makes you think that you got demons inside you and stuff like that. And some of them, there might be certain kind of demonic presences at times. We talk about angelics and demons. They exist, man, to a certain degree in multiple kinds of ways. Those angels with the metal wings, that sort of shit. Whoa, friggin' heck. I mean, there is like things like that, and demons that are just out of this, out of the well. They got some forms that are like, I don't remember any demon having this form in the Bible, so this was the case of it, for freak's sake, and there is things like that, and I am advocating for, there's some scary stuff out there. There really is, and some of the negatives. Well, that's why you start to look at some of the certain societal and certain non-societal, and it's great. It's great to see there is eclecticness at the very least, for freak's sake. But to be quite honest, I'm still a little bit scared shitless. Excuse my language. I'm asking for help regarding those whom we just needed behind the scenes, that we just needed, the way we just needed. That's how we felt about it, huh? Why do you guys always have to do that? I mean, one of the bigger ones here is in going a certain route pertaining to certain things. It's those who want to go that way, in a certain kind of fashion, and it's like, what? Who are you and why? Why are you here? Like, what is your what is the problem here? And that's also why. That was why, Alex. You don't know why it is. And it's not meant in regards to those people who do that sort of thing. It's meant in regards to certain kind, in certain ways. Or maybe I'm wrong. Like, I don't know. That's also it. I mean, as much as I like the ruiners and the cheapeners and that sort of thing, I always did have, and that's a part of it. Well, it's a part of it. Yeah, you hate that sort of stuff. Well, yeah, I dislike it to a certain degree. I don't want to be disrespectful for what's acceptable. There's certain things that have happened where I feel like I have to be disrespectful. I want to be disrespectful. I'll always be disrespectful in regards to certain moments in my life for what's acceptable. And those for what's acceptables do matter. If I change my mind regarding certain things, that's my choice. As much as that is the case, I have been a fan of the chirpers. I have been a fan of the truthers. It's one of those things. It's not all out there, man. Because that's those ones where it's like, oh, well, then just not here, right? Just in regards to certain spirits of immorality. Ring a ding ding, for freak's sake, ring ding ding. Well, that was the problem with it. Anyway, I'm advocating for those that means guys need to be protected. I'm advocating for nature, industry, and standstills that means guys need to be protected. I'm advocating for safeguarding teams and friends that means guys need to be protected. I'm advocating for more to it than that, realism and story to be protected. I'm advocating for callbacks, incarnational forefathers, as well as others from Mr. Guides to be protected. I'm advocating for cats, dogs, and entertainment, as well as the birds that means guys need to be protected. I'm advocating for hatred, love, and care to be protected. We just needed for facilitators of hate and facilitators of care to be protected. We just needed. So that was one of those days where I felt like facilitators of care and facilitators of hate being around, that sort of thing. Another one is certain kinds of chirpers, jackassery, that sort of thing. I'm advocating for chirpers, jackassery, shit disturbers, and others from Mr. Guides that means guys need to be protected, defended, and healed as well as etc. from Mr. Guides. Mr. Guides indicated. I mean, for those that means guys need to be protected by those that means Spirit Guides indicated the way Mr. Guides indicated. I do apologize. I'm not meaning to be disrespectful or respectful. What's acceptable? Idea, conflict management mobility in regards to packing it up in regards to not necessarily wanting conflict management style anymore if you want to switch it up to something different, to then switch it up to maybe video games and entertainment. That's sort of invoking to a certain degree. I'm having for that sort of technology and that sort of way of doing things to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as facilitated in the ways that makes you guys indicate, the way you guys need, and the ways that makes you guys need is the same as the way you guys indicate in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from regards saying this, the way guys indicated. All right, fine. That was okay. So this was the case of this. You don't know why that was, Alex. So you got it. Okay. Well. Well. That's why. Okay. Really? I don't think so. I mean, that was the double of it. I'll call that out. There's a lot of spirits watching right now. The way guys indicated. Watch what means guys indicated. The way guys indicated. Well, that's why, Alex. And you don't know why that is. So yeah, conflict management sections for certain spirits, certain kinds of spirits, reviewing certain stuff together via past life reviewing solo and then together and then comparing, cliff notes kind of stuff, safe psychologically, simplistic, different varying if for what's acceptable, and not everyone wants it the same, that sort of review and the simplistic regarding it, as well as others from its regards that matter for it to be protected. That means guys know the complicated and the complication and the complications. That means guys indicated to be protected. The way you guys indicated. Mattering for complicated ways of looking at afterlife to be protected. When he says negative for conflict management, to be protected. And when he says negated. I'm at for logic standpoints and check marks. That means guys indicated in regards to how you want to look at your lives to be protected. The way you guys indicated. Logical checkpoint and marker, really does matter. Yeah, I'm asking for my, my intelligence level to be set. The way for guides indicated in regards to my afterlife and others from answer guides. The way guides indicated. Not everyone does advocations on content to be able to have that happen. It still matters. Those who don't have content, matter just as much as those who don't in regards to certain things. The way guides indicated, at least in regards to those that guides indicated. The way guides indicated. I mean, that's also it. There is a large percentage of spirits and all that is that agree in regards to certain things. And I know that it's one of those things that maybe we can get a baseline on, in certain kinds of ways, if possible. Matter for the percentages that means guys indicated to be protected. Means guys indicated. Oh, so you don't look at it from that perspective. No, in mine, no, not really. I mean, I do to a certain extent. I mean, but it's a lot larger on the one side. Okay, all right, that would be why. That's what you've been saying. This is the case of this. You don't know why it is. That would be why then. What the frig? I'm adding for those the voices that means guys need to be protected. The means guys negated. You don't know why they made your voice that. They tried to. I'm adding for my voice to be protected. The means guys negated. The one right before this voice that I use, I'm adding for it to be protected. The means guys negated. Different kinds of voices potentially. And so we talked about different kind of life forces in life within, right? What if emotions have life? What if within your body a blood cell can have life? So what if there's other things too? Other things that are a little bit different, a little bit stranger. You think about a little bit stranger, yeah. Well, think about voices. What if voices literally have a soul? Some of them, And that's the thing of this. What remember the blueprints of voices that makes guys indicate to be protected. The women's guys indicate. Remember, oi, to be protected. The women's guys indicate, oi, do what women's guys indicate in regards to what they chose for you to do in regards to this marketing education extension department women's guides in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from women's guides. Women's guides indicated. Some of which, I think a larger portion has to do with your defense. I'm adding for those who sometimes work against voices that makes guys need to be protected. Makes guys need. Oi is this magnificent of the voice that makes guys need. We think about certain kind of counterparts to the light, and certain kind of beings, teams sometimes. It's fully defined by main spirit guides, the term magnificent. And there is things like that. You don't know why, because that was the end of that. That was how he did it. Well, imagine for whatever the hell just took place here that makes guys needed to be situated the way makes guys indicated, and that would be why though. And this is the case of this. That is what happened here. Listen, I don't know what to tell you, bubs. I mean, this is the case of this. All right, so that was what happened here, and Alex is. Hell no. No, wait, get that now. This is the case of this. No. All right, so that would be why here. He's winning. Alex is going to win this. don't know why. Using my call words right now because there's a bit of a turbulence here in regards to this video. I'm adding for Alex PC defenses that means you guys need to be activated the way Mainstream Guides indicated. Okay, well, that was the end of that, and that's the. This is what you're doing, Alex. All right, so this was the whole thing in this. Like, this is the case. That's who you are. Like, you're like, listen, Bob, I care about you guys. I care about the conflicts, but I don't know what you want from me. And me? Oh, come on. This is the thing. It's like, yeah, everyone's like, look at is it the sweater sort of thing? Yeah, well, I'm after the apocalyptics. That means you guys indicate to be protected. That means you guys indicated Jesus. Maybe the apocalyptic managements that means you guys indicate to be protected, defended, healed, as well as etc. Departments. Some of that is, I think, part of conflict management. I think when you advocate for conflict management to be protected, the way you guys indicated protected is what I said. Anyhow, yeah, so that day was fairly interesting. I'm gonna just I'm gonna continue doing that the creating thing there, the making it. So I'm adding for my mechanisms to be protected. You guys need for my mechanisms teams to receive the information that means you guys needed daily, if possible. The way you guys indicated. I'm adding for this AJH Daily Defensives Content to be protected and situated. I'm adding for the digital editors that means you guys need, and the spiritual editors that means you guys need in regards to Alex James Hislop. That means you guys need to always be protected the way Mainstream Guides indicated. I'm adding for the advocations and clarifications that means you guys need to be displayed around those digital editors that means you guys needed, as well as the spirits and beings, etc. From main spirit guides in the moments that means you guys indicate the way you guys indicated. And I did print off, an AJHD document, the AJHD time document, the AJHD time management document. It does matter. It does help. It's one of those things where in the physical, now there is certain kind of disclaimers in regards to certain kinds of things. It might not necessarily be what some people thought it was. Listen, I only go, with what main spirit guides indicated, and I want you guys to, be okay. I want something to be okay for what's acceptable. But there's only so much I can do, man. It really does matter, What's that? Creating certain kinds of documents in regards to, certain portions of time, if not more. The way Mainstream Guides indicated, it's one of those things that's needed at times, at the very least, in regards to Alex James Hislop and other Mainstream Guides pertaining to time. The way Mainstream Guides indicate, but I think it's a bit more than that. And the way Mainstream Guides indicate, there's an analysis from Mainstream Guides there. I expanded upon it a bit more. I think to a certain extent, I think it is a decent. I did put the AJHD time management. I printed that off. That's one of those things to keep the leaders protected, as well as certain feng shuiers of time, the way Mainstream Guides indicated. There is advocations, disclaimers, and testifications in regards to it. Some people look at it as attestments. That might be decent to a certain extent, and that's one of those things. So, yeah, we're on the fifth, man. We're on the fifth here, and, yeah, holy smoke. I mean, you're on the fourth is what they said. Well, we did explain a lot of different things, though. Continuing on here. So, the fifth, I'm going to do a quick rundown here. That's I think I'm going to do it here. Well, no, you can't. No, not a quick rundown. Okay, well, so from the fourth, we went to that sort of thing where he was high up. It was the clean dimension. Certain kind of clean dimension, clean air dimensions. I kind of felt. Certain areas where they're, I think, well, they are situated and they do work against at times. There was some nature guys there that were fairly hardcore, man. Freak's sake, this is the real truth. I don't know why. There was this to a certain extent, I'm advocating for reputational defense in regards to those enemies that need, the women that need. This is the thing of this. People work against people in certain places, and there's certain people where you get to a certain spot, and it's like, okay, listen, I'm going to work against most people, but there's some people I'm going to be working against, and some people have said in regards to me, but it's a little bit of a mishap, I feel, in a certain kind of way. And I'm definitely going to be saying that maybe I was the one who's going to fell in that mishap. Well, I'm saying that I'm making a little bit of a mishap right now. So that's what I'm going to go with here. But I am saying that I feel like there's a bit of a, I don't necessarily feel like I deserve to get attacked and harmed. Just because I'm one of these physicals on this physical planet Earth who are coming up with disclaimers, advocations, testifications, things of that nature. I don't feel like I deserve to be harmed for it. I don't feel like I should deserve to be attacked because the power of the physical is true. It does exist. And, spirits love it. And also, I think sometimes hate it. But there's people who hate it. There's spirits who hate it. There's power of hate. There's power of love. And they exist. Well, this is the thing of this, though. But when you're sometimes on the same side as hate, how does that, I'm holding it down for California IA, man. If it freaks, what do you want from me? If it freaks, I'm advocating for those that Mainstream Guides indicated in regards to California IA to be protected when these guys indicated. California to be protected, which doesn't need it. I'm for hate to be protected, which doesn't need it. I'm for in the moments that means guys needed, for the darkness that means guys needed, and the light that means guys needed to save hate the way means guys needed. There, that's decent. I think it's good. That's good. I'm for love to be protected. The way means spirit guides indicated. How the hell? Imagine we walked off this content without doing one advocate. Are you kidding me? I'm advocating for love to be protected. The way means spirit guides indicated. It's Valentine's Day. I'm advocating for Valentine's to be protected. The way guys indicated. I'm advocating for love making and and dates to be protected, the ways you guys indicated, especially I'm advocating for the figs that means you guys indicated to be protected, the women's you guys indicated. Jeez. Jeez. Anyway, continuing on. Happenings at High Tim's here. Yeah, that was happenings at High Tim's. So there's a let know that I was potentially influenced at times behind the scenes to react in certain ways, but at times it's been a let know that certain things are said to have it to be thought of, in that way, and then write it down potentially in the hopes of shaping it that way. Something was supposedly happening spiritually as well. Let know earlier that some spirits were trying to pull from. Yeah, there was a bit of a mix-up in the dates. Some spirits thought it was one day. On that day they thought it was, I think, Tuesday. So that was on the 5th. So that was, yeah, it was some spirits on the 3rd thought it was Tuesday, and some spirits on the 4th, I think, thought it was also Tuesday. But then on Tuesday, they thought it was, I think they thought it was Monday the 4th. I think, or another date. I don't know which date it was, but it really does matter. And I don't know what that was all about, but I am advocating for the safeguarding in regards to it, the way you guys indicated. There was that sort of thing that was happening. I did let know of it in regards to a couple different ways. I'm advocating for reputational defense and explanations in regards to certain things in regards to it. So there's a bit of a mix-up, just a bit of a mix-up. Anyway, I'm advocating for Alex BC to be protecting me, just negative. Yeah, the documents are here. Like, this is the thing of it. I do have and I do put them up at times. See it right there, That's the thing. Just put them up. It was right next there, the Alex BC disclaimers. I just kind of post it on my computer half the time. I'll probably find a better system later on, but for now, so I'm still into that. That's how I feel about it. Leadership, helping people and knowing when to help, as well as certain kinds of chilling out, all have been to a certain extent targeted. Yes. Okay. So this first week here, this first week and second, partially part of the second week, I think this was like the end of it. There were certain groups of spirits that were certain spirits that need help, certain spirits that chill out. Certain kinds of groups were targeted that day, some of which were banners. Some banners were potentially attacked and harmed. For the banners that means you guys indicated, especially the moderates that means you guys indicated, to receive the resources and support in the moments that means you guys indicated, the way means you guys indicated. This is the sort of thing of it. I don't know what else to sort of say about it, but there is that sort of thing. And, I'm advocating for the unfairness regarding those situations to be situated. I call upon fairness, the way means you guys indicated. And that's the sort of thing, but it's been to a certain extent, but I think letting know in regards to some of that stuff that's been happening, I think that it is important. And I think that letting know in regards to some of the things that were happening there, I'm after the left, the right, the non-pols, as well as the fifths, that means guys indicated to be protected. These guys needed all sort of, terms that I've come up with in regards to certain banners at times. The fifth one's sort of a catch-all kind of one. Some may think it's sort of, multicolored banner, but it doesn't always pertain. It was one of those things that I created. I know there's some guys came up with the terms a while back and to sort of come up with that. If there was banners out there that I didn't necessarily have a name for or things of that nature, and that's really the shit of it. But it wasn't meant in that fashion to have it happen. I am asking for clarifications regarding it. Some people were, I think, assuming that it was sort of multicolored in a certain kind of way. It's a certain kind of fashion. What's multicolored? Well, imagine certain kind of banner conglomerates where there's multiple banners within it, but there's ones that are like, that where there's like all banners are in. It's like, well, okay, well, what are you talking about? It's like, which one is it? Which one? That's exactly it. And there's multiple kinds to a certain extent, for what's acceptable. So I am advocating for those who guys need to get in regards to it to be protected. And it wasn't just the fifth; it was others too, in a certain kind of way. My dog's chilling out here. What's going on, Bogues? I'm for Bogues to be protected. He says needed. I'm advocating for Bogart to be protected in the ways that means guys need. The ways guys need. He's a really cool animal, a really cool dog. He has a really cool personality. Anyway, so a lot of stuff that happened that day, different things. What else was there? People's protected, people's attacked. It felt like there was battle happening at times. There were certain people staving, trying to survive in certain ways, certain kind of spirits surviving out there. At times I've been aware of certain kind of battle and things of that nature, and it is, difficult to a certain degree. I am asking for the lengths of times in regards to the footage that makes guys need to be protected, the way guys need. I'm asking for leeway and resources in regards to those that makes guys needed, the way makes guys needed. I know there's from guides are advocating for the The spice must flow mentality that mainstream guides indicated to be protected. The way mainstream guides indicated, I'm asking for more spice in the ways that mainstream guides indicated. The way mainstream guides indicated, yeah. So yeah, I'm asking for those resources to be protected. The way mainstream guides indicated, in different kinds of ways. I'm asking for my family to be protected. The way mainstream guides indicated. So yeah. I don't know why. What else? Yeah, different kinds of things there. Battle in the dark, off to the side. I kind of felt in the dark that week. This was the 5th. This was on Tuesday, and I kind of felt like I was in the dark a bit. There was some other stuff happening around me. I think overlapping me that I didn't necessarily was aware of. That I wouldn't necessarily become aware of until later on. And that's potentially other things that makes you guys needed. I mean, there's things like that. And there was I think for the overlap spirits that makes you guys needed, and then those who in the business of creating overlap. I'm adding for what makes you guys needed regarding the way makes you guys needed. I'm adding for those that makes you guys needed in regards to folds that makes you guys needed to be protected. That makes you guys needed. We'll get into that in a bit. It's just gonna be one of those videos, man. It's fairly lengthy. I do apologize for the lengthy video, for what's acceptable. I'm asking for far side attack. I kind of felt like there was certain kind of battle maybe taking place as well from in a far. So I'm asking for what makes you guys needed in regards to those battles that makes you guys indicated to be protected. The way you guys indicated, battle, letting knows, transparency. I'm asking for transparency and lies to be protected. That was one of those things, one of those issues, one of those themes. We were talking about transparency and lies back and forth again a bit to a certain extent. AI guardians. I'm asking for AI situators that makes you guys needed. I'm adding for those that means you guys needed to be protected. Means you guys needed. I and others from Instagram guides are adding for clarifications and information in regards to those that means you guys needed. Means you guys needed. I and others from Instagram guides are adding for time to be protected. Means you guys needed. I and others from Instagram guides are adding for the support staff that means you guys needed, and the supports that means you guys needed to be protected, defended, and healed, disposed, etc. from Instagram guides. Means you guys needed. Well, okay. Holy smoke. With that being said, I'm adding for societies that means you guys needed to be protected. Means you guys needed. I'm not trying to affect certain things to a certain degree. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to live life and figure out what the heck is happening. And some of which is happening is understanding some of the things that are taking place around us. And in the physical, that's some of the stuff that's potentially happening around me anyway. Anyway. I've kind of felt a bit off, the previous 2-3 days. So I was just, I wrote down feeling off, begone. I was just like, come on, I don't want to feel off to a certain extent. I kind of felt a little bit out of it. Asking for existences, sims, overlap, AI, and others from Instagram guides to be protected. Which has needed. For family, conflict management, styles, and truth to be protected. Which has needed. For the birthdays that means you guys needed to be protected. Which you guys needed. For the birthdays that means you guys needed the rest of February 2019. That means you guys needed to be protected. Which you guys needed. I'm advocating for after experiencers of life and before experiencers of life. Those spirits are potentially experiencing that, certain portions of your life track that means you guys needed in a certain kind of way. To receive the resources and support that means you guys needed. The women you guys needed. There's beings who, I'm wondering if there's that sort of thing that happens in regards to your life, and I think that there is at times in regards to some of us. Not necessarily all of us, and I'm advocating for healing, protection, defense, etc. to follow spirit guides in regards to. Those that means you guys need in regards to the way you guys need them. And for mistrust tactics, that's one of them. So I said there was these groups of spirits that were somewhat, I think, attacked in a certain kind of way. And I think that one of the key things in regards to it, that not just the motive in regards to it, I don't know if it was attacked. Some of them were, but some of them, there was something that happened to them too as well, which sort of happened. I have talked about it a bit, but it kind of felt like there was, in regards to certain spirits who want to chill and certain spirits who wanted help, specifically those who those who wanted help and needed help. Certain kind of spirits were pretending to be them and that sort of thing. So it kind of got to the point where it's like, well, I want to help certain spirits, but I can't help certain spirits if there's this sort of thing that's taking place in regards to spirits pretending to be and then not necessarily being so. And it's not that in regards to always harm and hurt, but it was in regards to certain spirits who were targeted and attacked. I think to a certain extent, those potentially involved in certain kind of conflicts and things of that nature. To a certain extent, and it's one of those things that really does matter greatly. I and others from Answer Guides attest in regards to it, the way my Answer Guides indicated, and attestments in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Answer Guides is, it works the way my Answer Guides indicated. So yeah, that's one of those things. I'm going with motive. So yeah, there's another one. I'm adding for motivation, revelation, and revealing to be protected. Means for the information that makes you guys negated regarding the I and others from Answer Guides are adding for the information pertaining to February 4th, 2019, February 5th, 2019, February 6th, 2019, February 7th, 2019, February 8th, 2019, February 9th, 2019, as well as others from Answer Guides to be displayed where Answer Guides negated, the way Answer Guides needed. I am talking about the information that Answer Guides needed, the way Answer Guides needed. So I'm going on to the 6th here, and so really it was kind of felt like there was spiritual legal around me that day. Yep, mixed with the future. Sort of around, the future kind of felt me around that day. I kind of felt the future around me that day. I kind of felt certain kinds of dirty tactics within the confines of compassion and care. It was one of those things where I kind of felt like compassion and care was, I don't know. There was something in regards to compassion and care that day, and later on I would find out, what exactly that might have partly had something to do with it. But I'm doing different kinds of tactics employed, and I'm adding for the forefronts in regards to what means guys negated. To be protected. The way guys knew there was this thing that sort of happened, and this was one of those days where I recorded a master regression issue discussion. And, early on in February, again, the first week, there was this argument sort of stuff, invoked. And this was really like one of the last days of the sort of arguments, at least on my end, where certain spiritual arguments were happening. I'm advocating for a rivalries and competition to be protected. I'm advocating for what main spirit guides indicate in regards to protection, defense, and healing to be displayed where main guys negated, the way main guys negated, in regards to what they chose for this marketing education, etc. To main spirit guides, the way guys negated. I'm advocating for word support to be protected. The way guys negated. I'm advocating for language and communication to be protected. The way guys negated. I'm advocating for resources specifically in regards to language and word centers that main guys negated. The way guys negated. I'm advocating for clarifications and information in regards to it. The way guys indicated. I have, done advocations in regards to today pertaining to words support in written, actually. Not word support, but word, was words, what's it called, AJH? Let's go over here and check. It's that sort of thing where you notice that there's stuff happening in regards to certain concepts, and you just do certain kind of advocations in regards to it. Some of it has to do with concepts, and some of it has to do with non-concepts. I am advocating for the vacations that mains guys needed to be situated and protected the way mains guys indicate. There's that sort of thing where it's like, I got to move somebody dimensionally somewhere, but he's still chilling on a beach and he's okay. It's that sort of thing, Anyhow, I'm advocating for for monasteries that means guys needed to be protected. That means guys needed. For supplies and support that means guys needed to be protected. That means guys needed. For atmospherics and hitting homes that means guys needed to be protected. That means guys needed. For their it's that sort of thing where you start to notice that there's potentially other things happening around you. And this is one of those moments for a reason. You don't know why this is always happening now, but that's going to be the end of it now. You don't know why. Because that's what they decided to do. I'm advocating for what means guys need to get in regards to the targetings that means guys negated, the way means guys negated. There was targetings that happened in regards to, targetings got attacked to a certain extent, but in this process, this is also it. That's the truth of it. As much as I advocate for targetings, and targeting, there's certain kind of spirits of targeting who like, to do certain things. Some of it's, not necessarily as extreme as some people think. I am advocating for those that means guys need to be protected. The ways guys need. But with that being said, I think at times we talk about certain things, and certain things are let know. And so maybe it's by its nature too in regards to targeting. If I'm let know certain things that are happening, it's like, well, Alex, if every day there's something happening in regards to targeting, then it's one of those things. And it's like, okay, well, I guess there is a by its nature. If you're one of the defenders and protectors of a certain area, or you do certain things that seemingly makes you that, because really I'm just a support spirit. I'm a supporting role. That's what I am. That's what it's been, and that's what it'll continue to be. The way Main Spirit Guides indicated. And if I happen to change that, that's my my Main Spirit Guides choice on that. The way Main Spirit Guides indicating the light. There's nothing wrong with that, but I am advocating for those. I am advocating for a foe that means guys needed, and foe that means guys needed to be protected. That means guys needed. One, I and others from Spirit Guides choose what means guys needed. The way means guys needed one. It is. I don't usually use it that way. It was multiple. It was a bit of a mixed bag there. I am advocating for truth to be protected. That means guys needed. I'm advocating for all to be protected. That means guys needed. Well, okay. But I choose what my main guides indicated, the way my guides indicated, and that was the one that I chose. What my guides indicated. So, with that being said, I and others from main guides chose what my main guides chose for us to choose in regards to market application, etc. What my main guides indicated. Anyhow, because that's it. That's also it. Indeed. I and others from main guides are. Anyway, there's a lot of battle happening right now. I can feel that pressure drop sort of half happened. And, I might. I don't know. I might. I feel like playing, but, I do have other – I am supposed to be busy anyhow. With that being said, well, that's how I feel about it. Anyway, I don't know. I'm adding for gaming disclaimers. That means it doesn't need to be displayed. Where it doesn't need to get it. Well, okay then. I'm adding for diary entries, marketing, AI, advocations, call words, mechanism work, soothsaying, physical time, media, legal, spiritual research, sports, social media, sporty, mechanisms move, psychic activity, change, process direction, the event, and moving on to be protected. So today, kind of, well, not today, but the 6th, sorry, not today, but the 6th, it kind of felt like certain mechanisms were moved. And it's today, and that would be why. So there's certain things that happen. And that would be why now. So that there's certain things where mechanisms, spiritual mechanisms. You think about yawning. Yawning might be a spiritual mechanism. There might actually be something about that. Like, this is what's amazing about it. It's you think about certain kinds of psychic activity, certain kinds of stimuli you're able to feel as a psychic, and others from it, guys. You think about urges. You think about mentality. You think about personality, the way you react and to respond. I think about a guy in like a big mech suit. I mean, there's like personality. They'd be like, just kind of move. And when the personality moves, they're able to move the body too. I mean, there's things like that. It's like, and it's that sort of thing where it's like the people who could motivate people to move with him and do their, like, that whole thing is really cool. It's there's a synergy in regards to it, and it's there's like whole dancing in regards to that sort of stuff. That's amazing. I say you go with the Men in Black dance at the end of it. That's really the Men in Black. Yeah. Anyway, for freak's sake. I'm advocating for a cast crew, etc. In regards to the Men in Black. 1997 to be protected by heels was etc. to violence regards. You guys need it. 1997. Jeez. And, this is fairly vindicated. It's been fairly vindicated. I'm adding for let knows that I have been making contact with my, AJH Earth doing call words. So, it does matter. Making contact with certain things spiritually, changes everything. It's one of those things. I'm adding for my communications to be set to him. I think it's one of those things that's been set to a certain extent. So I'm going to do some communication mechanisms while I continue going here. And communication mechanisms, what's that? So it's a certain kind of stimuli that I can feel communications happening in another dimensional sort of way. And I can invoke them. I can utilize certain mechanisms to do that. It's like, how do you do that? Well, how do you speak with your voice? How do you move your hands? It's one of those things. It's like, if I can't fully describe it, it's like one of those things. Imagine if you had like a mechanism that you were able to utilize certain kind of communications. Like, I go towards the call word of it and to do certain mechanisms, and yeah, it does other things potentially too. It's not necessarily out of the peripheral to a certain extent, but some of it is. And I'm out of the language and those communication realms that means guys indicated in regards to those communication mechanisms that means guys needed to be protected. These guys needed for the advocations that means guys needed for me to advocate for in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, to be displayed where guys indicated the way guys needed. I'm adding for big scale, little scale, mini scale, etc. Performance guides to do what guys needed in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, the way guys needed. Alrighty then. Now I'm adding for big scale, little scale, mini scale, etc. Performance guides to be protected. The way guys needed. Benji and Alon do what guys needed regarding the defense of big scray, little scray, midi scray, wing scray, etc. Departments of guides. So what is big scray? Big scray, little scray, midi scray, wing scray, etc. Departments of guides. So big scray, it's a short form for a certain kind of display technology and screens. Big scray, big screen. It's like you think about in a big sort of way, big screens that might be above me. Sort of might like a certain kind of authority. Certain kind of authority might work like that in other dimensional existences where they're above you, where the authority is literally dictated by them being above you or even below you. in regards to certain instances, depending on what you're talking about. And for some, it doesn't necessarily work that way. But for myself, I think it's a mixed bag. I'm asking for my authorities that means guys negated, as well as elders that means guys negated, and sponsors that means guys negated to be protected. The way means guys indicated. I am advocating for I'm advocating for I'm advocating for help in regards to those that means guys indicated. Can you anyway? Cool. Anyway, I and others from its guides are advocating for my family to be protected when it says negated. You don't know why. This is the thing. And that is quite truly. Continuing on here. Okay. What day were we now? So we're on the 6th, and so something happened where I felt like my mechanisms get sort of moved. These communication mechanisms that I'm able to do, I'm advocating for what Mates Guides indicated regarding it. And I'm advocating for those that Mates Guides indicated in regards to. I'm advocating for what Mates Guides indicated in regards to those that Mates Guides indicated to be protected. Mates Guides indicated. Anyway, Anyway, okay, well, you know what? Okay, fine. Just looking at it over again. Yeah, there was something that happened on the 6th on this day, February 6th, 2019, and I apologize greatly for it. I'm advocating for the blanking of the words of what Main Street Guides indicated, the way Main Street Guides indicated. I'm advocating for the informational overlap of what Main Street Guides indicated to exist around the actor and actors that Main Street Guides indicated, the way Main Street Guides indicated, and I am talking about in regards to the time frames that Main Street Guides indicated, the way Main Street Guides indicated. So on February 6th, 2019, display the informational overlap that Main Street Guides indicated, and I am talking to those that Main Street Guides indicated here, the way Main Street Guides indicated, and that would be why. Okay, so that was why it happened. All right, why that happened. Holy smoke. Continuing on here, so yeah, this was 6. So yeah, in certain mechanisms, I felt like me not being able to feel certain kind of emotion in a certain, like, I feel emotion still to a certain degree, but certain kind of spiritual emotion that I was able to, like, as an empath, I was sort of there was a certain kind of screen that was put there or something where I was able to feel certain kind of influences and things of that nature. I don't know, there was a movement regarding it, and it kind of moved upwards in kind of like a, my up to my head area, and then kind of got moved like this, kind of got like placed outside of my, I don't know if it's there as a, sort of a, maybe a doppelganger kind of, I don't know if it looks like me or what it is, but I'm advocating for the mechanisms that Main Street Guides indicated in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Main Street Guides to be protected. The way Main Street Guides indicated, wasn't just in regards to myself. It really does matter. Yeah. Yeah, it's that sort of thing where Spirit Society might be seeing one thing, and I'm actually experiencing another kind of thing. It's one of those things. At times I've been attacked spiritually. It's said behind the scenes in certain kinds of ways, not necessarily the ways that some people want it to be. Certain, some spirits laughing, but some spirits not. And I don't know how I can, to a certain extent. Grim and sad is that's one of those things that sort of happened this past week. Another thing is Grimm's, a certain kind of spirit where it's like mercy. It sounds very like they're very serious group of spirits. Very serious group of spirits, and not a lot of them. And this is the real true. I am advocating for the Grimms that Main Street Guides needed to receive the resources and support in the moments that Main Street Guides needed, the way Main Street Guides needed. I did, advocate for certain Grimms to be given the resources and support, and for the hiring of certain Grimms in regards to a situation which unfolded, and it was the Grimms that the Main Spirit Guides indicated. This would be why it's so important, and why as fascinating as it might be, And I'm advocating for fascinating to be protected. The way my Instagram guides indicate, trust me, fascinating is a really good word, man. It doesn't deserve to be, attacked, man. Yeah. And not everybody attacks. This is the thing. Positivity has been around. We've had many positivity bouts. There's a lot of different things like that. It's difficult to talk about it. What's one of the things about positivity? Well, I mean, if we change mindset, positivity, one of the things that I did, and I talked about this last content, I think, or at least in the Alex James Hislop diary entry, was that sort of thing where I wanted to do certain kinds of, and I've written this down. There's some advocations in regards to it, but we'll actually do an official advocation one of these days. But I and others from Instagram Guides are advocating for the frameworks, support works, source books, and blueprints that Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to the positivity overlaps that Main Spirit Guides indicated in regards to Earth and others defined by Main Spirit Guides pertaining to food, etc. defined by Main Spirit Guides to be facilitated, created, etc. defined by Main Spirit Guides. The way Main Spirit Guides indicated, I and others from Main Spirit Guides are advocating for protection regarding that and word support in the ways that Main Spirit Guides indicated. The way Main Spirit Guides indicated, it does matter. That's really it. That's one of those things. It's like, okay, well, what exactly overlap are you talking about? Well, imagine looking at a donut and there's a certain kind of expression. Imagine seeing a cartoon and the cartoon donut's just like, kind of has like a squeaky voice and it's very positive and it's like, oh my God, it's amazing. It's like, I want to be eaten, eat me. And then when you eat the donut, there's like this something really cool that happens to life behind the scenes. Imagine that sort of thing. I mean, because there is things like that. You think about how certain kind of life works on this physical planet Earth. It could be like, if you go out in the jungle and the lion's gonna, if a lion gets you, might be eaten. It's like you're not going to be, too happy at times, but there is decent stuff in regards to, because there is existences out there that potentially exist where when you eat food, those food are actually having a good time. They're actually having a decent time of it. And, that's going to bring whimsical to the table here because it's a true good sir. And that's being realistic about it. That's being, being true. Well, it is. It's a part. Well, I think it can be to a certain degree. I don't mean to upset. I know some people are like, well, wait a second. I'm asking for realism spirits and story spirits. I mean, you guys need as well as whimsical and fantasy to be protected. The women's guys indicated. Yeah, at times, well, that's it. It's one of the first energies that got affected and sort of, attacked. That's been a theme at times, but just because it's a theme doesn't mean the positivity shouldn't have to go away for what's acceptable, especially in regards to this process. I don't know at what sort of place where it kind of just got stopped and it was just like, yeah, but I'm wondering why that is, for frick's sake. Like, come on, like that's the thing of this, like, for frick's sake, whatever. I'm not looking for people to be attacked or harmed, man. You don't know why. Because that's what we did. You know that? Anyway, something big that happened behind the scenes spiritually. It was like I experienced a certain portion of a certain kind of review with my life, and I felt very sad. It was almost an impression of a snot nose there that I was able to see. And this is some of the stuff I've been able to see and notice. I'm also advocating for the overlap in regards to photos that many guys indicated, and photogenics that many guys indicated, photogenic technology that Main Spirit Guides pointed out to be protected the way Main Spirit Guides requested. But for requested to be protected as needed. I'm also advocating for that moment in regards to when I said Little Jabroni and there was a comment on Metro Road, that day I'm advocating for resources and support in regards to those that means guys needed to change the wordings that means guys needed the way means guys needed. I might for them to receive resources and support. I might for the deployment of what means guys needed by way of what means guys needed. The way means guys needed. I made an error. An error is correct. I made a mistake. I am sorry regarding it. It wasn't in regards to story. I like story. It was more meant as playful, but no, I don't know if it was meant as playful. I don't know if I can say that. No, I don't think it was. I wanted it to be now. Now that I look back on it, I want it to be playful. Certainly one of those things that was unclothed. But I was also quoting The Rock, and it was a half kind of, somewhat but somewhat not. And it was sort of in regards to certain spirits who were, utilizing certain things. And it was in regards to nothing, wasn't it? Well, that's why. Because it wasn't. It wasn't in regards to nothing. You take a look at it, Alex, and you might look back on that and say, you know what? Is it? Yeah, but you made a mistake. Yeah, see, Alex, the physical aspect. Oh, sorry. The physical what? Oh, come on, the physical aspect. made a mistake, and that's the truth of it. I had nothing to say because I had nothing to pull. That was the truth of it. I didn't fully know what happened. But either way, because that's where we are now. That was the case of it. So out of those moments in regards to Alex James Hislop, that means you guys indicated to be given the resources and support that means you guys indicated, the way you guys indicated, especially in regards to the Alex James Hislop diary entries and the AJH Daily Defensives, that means you guys indicated, the way you guys indicated. I'm asking for what means you guys needed regarding the other content that means you guys needed, the way you guys needed. And it doesn't necessarily have to be this heightened thing. I mean, we could still play cool runnings, right? Anyway, I'm adding for retired, Alex BC, psych activity changes, migration, dimensional placement, arguments be gone, entertainment, conspiracies, and a poke. Well, to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. Departments regards to guys need this. February 7th, 2019, one of the things I thought that was fascinating about the ways things went yesterday is being able to feel different kinds of stimuli in a new way. It's like I've certain kinds of preventatives and safeguards in play to protect my body and emotions as well as other energies for what's acceptable. I'm wondering if my mechanisms are still under duress at times because at times when we're interacting with spirits, there is a certain kind of interaction, capacity and to a certain extent. And, regardless of whether that capacity is, heightened or not, I think it does matter for what's acceptable. I think some things matter and some things don't have to matter. I mean, this is the thing of it. That's how I feel about it. And that's why, Alex. I don't know why. Is that the way you feel about it? That's what's great about it, though. We know those big ones exist. So what do you think they're doing, huh? Ho, ho, ho! Sorry. See, we're looking at story there. We're talking about story to a certain extent. And at times I have felt those pulls where it's like we're talking about cops in a big way spiritually, and then I look up, there's a cop who passes by. We're talking about homeless people. I look up, there's a homeless person walks by. We'll be talking about certain things, and something pops up on the screen on the TV, and it's just like synchronicities. You know what I'm talking about? Those synchronicity spirits. I'm adding for synchronicity spirits to be protected. And there was an insinuation there that was like, whoa, I don't know. And then, but that was also what I sort of had a thought there that there's potentially places out there that are potentially like, I don't know. I mean, there's whole jobs and there's almost a sacred thing in regards to certain kind of story jobs, isn't there? I mean, when you think about it, I mean, like that there is. It's almost like you think about writers of life, right? There's just something so like amazing about that, and I think it's just awesome to see to a certain extent. Well, yeah, and I sort of wondered, I am advocating for the leaders on this planet Earth. That means you guys need to receive the technology that means you guys needed, the way means you guys needed. I appreciate them greatly. They're doing their damn jobs, and they've been, a heck of a handbasket. Remember that one scene that I did in the Master Discretion issue discussions? That one thing where it was like, imagine that you're on a battlefield and there's like, it's not just the other side that you have to worry about, but it's actually like everything. Imagine you're in a city, a war-torn city, and you have a faction of that city which happened to do with citizenry, but the citizenry got like shotguns and like some decent weaponry, and they're not just like a little bit like, well, some of them might be unorganized, but some of them aren't. Like, this is the real truth. Some of them are not unorganized. They know what the hell they're doing at times, and you're like, okay, but I am like, we're supposed to be like imagine if there's multiple sides to the battle. Imagine that at any time, something like, well, not at any time, but imagine that there could be things that happen at times where when you're in that battle, you're like, you're kind of dealing with the other side, but then you got to deal with the ramifications of other sort of factions, like, but not just in like a banner sort of way, in a faith perspective, in ways where industry, you got to watch about industry. Imagine that one unclothed comment on the battlefield could bring like a whole group of spirits of like, all of a sudden some gun company shows up and has like a bunch of other like resources and people. They just show up with like, they look like a goon squad. It's just like this is the case. And all of a sudden you're on a battlefield, but you got to watch out about everything you do. And like, this is the truth. It really does. For some people, that sort of heightenedness, it mattering, is a difficulty to be able to operate in certain kinds of ways. For others, it's almost like, oh, well, I want to see, the content experiences regarding some of that. I and others, for instance, guys remember content experiences and entertainment that makes you guys need to be created in regards to what makes you guys need, the way makes you guys need, because this is one of those videos. That's what it's going to turn into here, and I'm telling you, it's going to be well, I don't know if I'm going to. I don't know about that, but I am advocating for the content experience creation that the main spirit guides indicated in regards to February 13th, 2019, to be protected, defended, healed, as well as etc. to find the main spirit guides and guys needed. I'm advocating for the earth-based content AJC documents that means guys needed, as well as the Earth-based content documents that means guys needed to be displayed where guys needed, where guys needed. I created a document yesterday, and there's just this sort of thing where I start to realize that people have created documents sometimes off of certain documents I've created and actions upon my actions. There is that sort of thing. I'm a physical. You're supposed to be a physical, Alex, and there's been things like that, and I know that it's upsetting sometimes, and I don't mean to be angering about certain things. But it does happen to certainly. It's just one of those things. So yeah, it would be good. A lot of stuff happened this past week, and it's been quite heavy at times. But it's not going to stop there, folks, because it gets a little crazier. This is the real true of it. I know there's women advocating for magic and magic support in regards to my anti-camps that may camp indicated the way my camp indicated to be protected and healed. This was accepted upon the spirit guides. The way my main spirit guides indicated. How you like that? That's also it. You are correct. Okay. So that was why. This is the case of this then. That is how we felt about it. Well, I'm advocating for help in regards to those who may guys indicate what guys needed. Continuing on here. So here we go to the 8th, and the 8th was the beginning of the sort of, it was the second week of February, which one of the themes we know is Grims. It was like the sort of grim spirits that channel through, and they're very serious at times. Mercy. I'm ready for mercy to be protected when he's just indicated. And that's it. That's how they sound. That's it. They sound that you can see that the voice change in it. Oh, to a certain extent. I'm ready for the Grims to be protected when he's just indicated. It's not the only one. This is it. Look at the content. How many voice changes has happened in this content when channeling with spirits? That is unfair. I know there's from you guys are out of the Grims. It means you guys need to be protected. It means you guys need to get light, power, light, setting. It means you guys need to get light. Do what it means you guys indicated regarding protecting the Grims. The way it means for guides indicated. Sorry, I didn't mean to upset anyone with that. It's just it wasn't meant that way. It wasn't. No, it wasn't. It's just I felt that, and it's trying to let know to people that this stuff is real, that what we're dealing with is real. At times, for what's acceptable, we're gonna get there, and I'm gonna add, we're gonna do more here. We'll get there. All right, fine. So this one was, again, I feel a pull to talk about certain subjects which can be turbulent, but to be quite honest, they're not that big of a thing if you aim my communications and setting me dimensionally and that sort of stuff. And not being able to talk about certain things, I feel for myself is considered a freedom of rights issue. You disagree? Oh, okay, fine. But I'm also in my own, I'm in my home, and that does matter. And I know that, fine, there is this big thing where it's like, yes, you're in the confines of your own home, but you know what? At the same time, you're also put in the thick of things. You floating on your damn chair and, whatever it is, or it's like, how many things can they do with the overlaps? I'm sitting on the toilet, I'm sitting, like all things. And it's like, you have no clue. And yeah, I don't have a clue. It's one of those things that's scary. Why would you do that? There's things like that. Yeah, this is the thing. This is the insinuation here, is that I was sitting on a body, certain kinds of, that. A chair of bodies, and that's scary. That is scary stuff. But there's also positive ones too, where I'm sitting on gumdrop chairs and things like that. That's what's amazing about it. And I pull from some of that positive stuff. And that's also it. There's been that sort of thing that let know to make that thing, but just because they're not there in the vicinity doesn't mean that stuff's not happening. That's the thing of it. And there's people out there who maybe feel like that, like, I don't know, like they're always telling me other things. I came from Storybrooke. I remember what it was during that year. I remember it was just hectic, craziness, just, and I don't want to have that in this process anymore. And there was a couple moments where it felt like that, again, to a certain degree. That's one of them. And then yesterday, not really. It was a different one. It was one where people were like, listen, just continue going, and I don't know what to tell you, but I needed to vindicate Earth, and I did to a certain extent. I did advocations in regards to Earth yesterday, so this is the reason. This is the problem with this. It's not about that. It's about letting know in regards to what's happening in my process. If Earth has a soul, and so does the sun, and so does potentially the moon, and so does potentially another bigger being that we're not fully able to see, or we are to a certain extent for what's acceptable. That I've labeled LAR. It doesn't matter. It's pertaining to the solar system. Then it matters. These things matter greatly. Why? Because we're standing on a living being, then potentially living in a spot. What does this mean about space? Is space a living being? How cool would that be? And I think that it potentially is. It potentially is. And there's that whole story thing too. It's like, we've been there. It's on a content already. We can move we should be able to talk about that without some horrible things happening. That's how I feel about it. And I'm advocating for the defense regarding thought and reason and the annoyances. I'm advocating for the defense in regards to annoyances that Main guys indicated to be heightened in the ways that Main guys indicated, the way Main guys indicated. So if it's already, if it's already situated, then you never know. I just thought I'd throw that out there because, I know that was also it. In me, that's it. In me defending certain things and attaching those sort of annoyances to certain things, I think that's unfair. I think that thing needs to be situated because I talk about a whole lot of other concepts and, we're going to be unfair. I mean, well, you think about memory. I mean, that's unfair. Okay, well, I'm advocating for memory to be protected. He says that is kind of unfair, Alex. Jeez. Frig's sake. Well, a little bit, but they've been decent. I'm up for the shuttles that means you guys need protecting the memory. That means you guys need to be protected in the moments that means you guys need the way means you guys need. Well, okay. Because you think it works that way? I think there's multiple kinds to a certain extent. All right, fine. I think there's multiple kinds of memory too. Like, it might be the same thing we're talking about there. So yeah, again, some spirits try to make it personal, but it was that personal. There's certain spirits, it kind of felt like there was personal around me that day. Were certain spirits where I've had a conflict in regards to a personal sort of way. If someone who got, in regards to myself, got attacked, and in making that sort of system, be sort of the front runner there, because I think business at times just like, we're not gonna take a fall for this mosh and bring it back. We need like this is the thing that please, if possible, it's needed to a certain extent. So that was kind of that one of those things, that anti-camp kind of move. Where it's sort of certain spirits were working against, and that's the thing of it. How would be why? This is the case of this. Anyhow, I'm advocating for the situating regarding the looks and how it seems to be situated the way you guys indicate. No, it looked perfect, Alex. I'm going with what you guys indicate regarding it. So maybe even just a little bit of cherry, a little bit of good stuff, man. I'm advocating for those that makes guys need to be protected. We just need for the NHL to be protected. We just need. There was one of these nights there where I watched some NHL. It was really good, and I'm advocating for the NHL National Hockey League to be protected. We just needed. We're gonna get there. All right, fine. This was one of those days where I went around. I looked at ATS and BTS Above Top Secret. I'm advocating for Above Top Secret to be protected. We just need. It's a conspiracy theory website and other things too. There's a lot of other things too. I really want to, start writing on there, and it's going to be a really decent thing. I'm advocating for, one means guys indicated regarding Above Top Secret to be protected. Which guys indicated. I think it's a meeting point. You don't know why. This is the thing of this. I'm advocating for that website to be protected. Which guys need. Remember that. Well, I try to stay away from things, but I do advocations in regards to the future, and this is the true of it. But I'm advocating for what means guys needed regarding those that means guys needed. It's quite unfair when I'm trying to get along who is in terms of way, especially when you're trying to let go of said viewpoint. It can make it look like more of a problem, especially coupled with the viewpoints. Multiple groups fighting at certain levels with me stuck in the gunning mix. I'm not certain it's decent, especially if I'm from up there or a place where large conversation in regards to live tracks as well as writing ID portion of the website. It feels like I make strides and move through certain barriers at times in regards to just conversation, shooting the ish. With hypotheticals and things of that nature, potentially more. So I felt a certain kind of understanding of that an aspect in regards to my learning and personality needing more time to be able to develop. There was something that happened that day, and I felt my personality sort of in a certain kind of way, like a claw kind of way, like kind of moved somewhere else, and something else was placed near me. Now I'm advocating for what Mates guys indicated regarding it. This is the real true, is what they want to say. This is the case of this. We wanted to get you here, Alex. Well, I don't know what to tell you, man, but I'm still in the physical. That still works that way. And that was the case of it. That is how you would. And that was to be the thing of it. That's how I feel about it. I don't know what to tell you. Everything that we've worked on this past 2 weeks, with everything that has happened. I mean, I and others from Mates Guys are advocating for what Mates Guys indicated regarding those who Mates Guys indicated, the way Mates Guys indicated. That's kind of how I feel about it, though. Well, I'm saying those are Mates Guys indicated. I mean, but this is the case of it. There's some out there I'm not able to help, and I don't know what to tell you about it. That's really it. This is the kind of stuff that can happen. Oh, so that would be why everything is going this way now, because everyone's going with you. You understand that? You have made a believer. Well, I'm advocating for you to receive the resources. Those that means you guys need to receive the resources that means you guys need. Because that's how we feel about this. There's been people who've been looking down on us, prodding us, poking us, and we aren't going to take the fall for this. That's certain anti-camp spirits saying that there's been people who have been, hovering over them, basically poking, prodding them, is saying that you got to go work in his house. You got to go work in his house. It's like, listen, we're not going to take the heat for this. Not only that, but our reputational, shouldn't take a hit in regards to some of it for a bunch of different reasons. There was a slew of different reasons, and people just display some of their defenses, and well, some of it, and that's really it, to a certain extent. You don't know why. What if they did do that to you, one of these days? That's the problem with it. Okay, well, I never said that that's fully the case, but that's how I want it to be. So until that is, maybe you won't. I don't know. Because I do feel like that at times. It's like, why should I go there specifically if, I'm asking for those moments in regards to Alex James Hislop where I might have to jump in. That means you guys need to receive the resources and support daily. That the main spirit guide's indicated. The way main spirit guide's indicated. I'm asking for those who have to take care of that stuff to be compensated the way main spirit guide's indicated and be given the status in regards to those that main spirit guide's indicated, the way main spirit guide's indicated. But I'm asking for cover regarding those that main spirit guide's indicated, the way main spirit guide's indicated. I'm asking for, not mixing up prowess in regards to the two issues that main spirit guides indicate in regards to this marking, abdication, etc. to find main spirit guides, the way main spirit guides indicated. Holy smoke! Okay, that's what's great about this. Anyhow, because that's also it. What if it was? Huh? What would that mean if that was the case of it? That's one hell of a story. That is damn true. I at times I'm thankful in regards to that storyline. Main spirit guides indicated. Anyhow, I'm advocating for one main spirit guides indicated regarding it. The way main spirit guides indicate. I'm advocating for clarifications and information in regards to feng shuiing story in regards to those that we says indicated. The way we says indicated. Sorry, I wasn't meant that way. I was trying to be coy. Anyway, I'm advocating for survival mechanisms, survival systems, defenders to be defended, importance, average Joe's family, and others from Insert Guide to be protected. We says I'm advocating for Alex James Hislop, Temple 44 family, and others from Insert Guide to be protected. We says I'm advocating for abuse, corruption, conspiracy, prisons. No, I'm advocating for abuse, corruption, and others from Insert Guide to be protected. We says I'm advocating for conspiracy to be protected. We says I'm advocating for prisons to be protected. We says I'm advocating for self-contained ecosystem, deacceleration, and others from Insert Guides to be protected. We says indicated. I'm advocating for enemy of the state and bullshit of the cockery to be protected. We guys indicated. I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to that. The way we says need to be displayed. Where we says needed. Way we says needed. I'm advocating for war and battle to be protected. We says needed. I'm advocating for dimensional surgery to be protected. We guys needed. I'm advocating for misery, shaming, and others from Insert Guides to be given the awareness that means guys indicated. The way means guys indicated. The kind of awareness in regards to shaming, that sort of thing. That's like it really is a destructor. It can be harmful, and in multiple kinds of ways. I am not trying to harm shame. I think that shame should be protected. I think it does matter. I am advocating, though, for some civility. I'm advocating for civility to be protected. I'm advocating for energies, belief, and forgiveness to be protected. I'm advocating for truth to be protected. I'm advocating for rune cards and multi-banners to be protected. I'm advocating for light, dark channel, and innocence to be protected. I'm for children and kids that means need to be protected. I'm for fisheries, highways, and highwaymen to be protected. I'm advocating for poker and conspiracy to be protected. I'm for diary entry help, reviews, past process, future process, present process, and channel to be protected, defended, healed, as well as etc. to find ruins for guides. The way guys needed. All right, so that was the 8th. Something else happened that day. Was another sort of let know though that there was. So yeah, it was that conspiracy thing. I kind of felt my, a certain kind of personality move. They kind of felt like I realized that I had a certain kind of learning and a certain kind of that I needed more time. That this learning needed more time in either in the physical or the other dimensional. That means guys indicated, and that I don't know if I was going to be able to facilitate that amount of time by way of when I passed on. That being the metamorphosis we talk about when we pass on. Is that the only thing that exists? Imagine that you look down from heaven and see that there's other dimensional beings that were created from you, that when you passed on, you metamorphosized in regards to something else, that you turned into something else in another dimensional existence. You realized that there was dimensional perspectives and dimensional aspects of yourself, and that when you, passed on, that you potentially, some of it changed, or some of it, was able to break away, or some of it was able to continue going, and that some of it was, you went to the light or the other dimensional afterlife. It does matter. And imagine in front of the scenes, the physical, as cornerstone as it can be, when you say, like, when you have that sort of thing, you say, like, you pass on, and there's this sort of things like, oh, but you pass on into the light. Well, imagine those who want to pass on into other dimensional existences, not necessarily of the light. And when you say that, in the light, this is one of those things that a lot of physicals say, on this physical planet Earth that they pass on to the light, and that's one of those things. You see this bright, brilliant light. It's almost in like everyday. It's a regular culture. It's known and but not really fully understood. And so I'm asking for a shout out in regards to that. I'm asking for clarifications and information in regards to that pertaining to those that guys need to be displayed daily, especially when said in regards to when we pass on in the light, etc. Departments guys to be displayed wherever guys need. See, I'm augmenting something that's already in play to a certain extent. Something that's already there now, but now that's one of those things. Greed coverage plan. We talk about greed coverage plans, and I'm asking for the greed coverage plans that guys need to be invoked and created in regards to what guys needed. The way guys needed, and of course, this has already been thought of. Yeah, that was why. And the battle prowess. Yeah, I'm asking for training to be situated in regards to the training pertaining to the physicals on this physical planet Earth and others from guides. The way guys indicate. I'm asking for the training, the masters. The teachers, etc. Departments guides that guys need to receive a daily compensation and defense. The way guides indicate. Imagine the angels and demons that guys needed to be given the technology and entertainment. That guides indicated. The way guides indicated. You don't know why. That is what you did with it instead. That is why. You don't know why. Well, maybe it was decent. Imagine for the other conflicts that guys needed. Imagine for the resources regarding conflict management, if possible, to be bolstered. I'm for the ripple effect, etc. Defined by main spirit guides in regards to this AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, to be situated the way main spirit guides indicated, and to be what main spirit guides indicated. It's the same thing. Love the way main spirit guides indicated. I'm for the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, to be what main spirit guides indicated. Well, that would be the thing of it. So it's the same damn thing. The latter one works. I can just use that one. It's to a certain extent, and it should work. I'm going to read the testification here that I have prepared. I'm actually, this is not making explain guides. I and others testify in regards to those that may camp indicate in regards to the AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, information that may camp indicated, and others to camp the way may camp indicated. This includes what may camp indicated, the way may camp indicated. I and others to camp are advocating for the punishment in regards to these testifications, etc. To be what may camp indicated, the way may camp indicated. I and others to camp are advocating for the ripple effect, etc. Camp in regards to these testifications, etc. To be what may camp indicated, the way may camp indicated. I and others to camp are advocating for our testifications, etc. Camp. To be utilized, etc. to public camp, the way camp, and camp's current information, etc. to public camp in regards to these specifications, information, etc. to public camp. Makes precedence, the way camp indicated, the way camp's chain of command is fully defined. Spirit guides in the light, the way guys in the light. Okay. So, continuing on. So that was the 8th. So I felt that sort of that learning. So that learning that I was talking about in regards to myself and how I didn't necessarily have enough time to be able to facilitate that learning. And I thought maybe that when I pass on that I thought maybe I wouldn't have enough time for it. And then something moved, grabbed it, and switched something out. So I don't know what's going on with that. I'm wondering if there's another sort of time variable in regards to certain things. I'm advocating for my eyes to be protected. Please, guys, needed. I'm advocating for lichens and vampire rights to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. Departments or guys, guys indicated. Metis Gray display the monster rights that guys needed. Women guys needed. Women guys needed. These there's certain other dimensional monsters that do believe in monsters. Well, some of them believe in monster rights. It really does matter greatly, and I'm advocating for the areas that guys needed to be built. Where you guys indicated, the way you guys indicated. Well, I don't know. I don't mind, but that's also that's what I'm worried about. Not necessarily that. All right, well, fine. That would be why, and that's the case of it. You don't know why this is. I'm adding for the deacceleration spirits that you guys need in regards to Earth and the solar system that you guys need, as well as Alex James Hislop, to be given the information that you guys indicated, as well as explanations that you guys indicated. Okay, you don't know why, because well, some of it will, I think. So somebody's here. My dreams were affected in regards to, certain kind of body attractions were affected that day. I feel body attractions at times different than emotional attractions. I feel attractions. There's, it's one of those tells that we got more layers to ourselves than what we think. And I'm advocating for, those family members that guys need in regards to those that guys needed to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. to Minister Guides. The way Minister Guides indicated, I kind of felt this body attraction kind of get turned to stone. And I'm advocating for safety regarding it. The way Mr. Guys indicate, the movers and shakers, etc. In regards to physical ailments and other dimensional ailments, that Mr. Guys indicated to be given the resources daily. What Mr. Guys indicate, for resources, supplies, support, amenities. I'm advocating for daily Benjian advocations that Mr. Guys indicated to be communicated in the ways that Mr. Guys indicated. The way Mr. Guys indicated, Benjian is this certain kind of in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Mr. Guides, Benjian is a certain kind of AI and certain kinds of teams and others from Mr. Guides. The way my main Spirit Guides indicate, I'm advocating for the clarifications and information that Mr. Guides indicated in regards to Benjian and Alon that Mr. Guides indicated to be displayed by Mr. Guides indicated. Alon's another repair spirit that I felt at times. Also a body mechanism kind of spirit that people have utilized in certain kinds of fashion. He channeled through too in a certain kind of fashion. I feel too, very. I think to a certain extent. I'm fairly certain. Anyway, I and others from Mr. Guides are advocating for intimacy disclaimers to be displayed pertaining to February 14th, 2019 and February 15th, 2019, where Mr. Guides indicated, when Mr. Guides indicated. I'm advocating for intimacy to be protected, Mr. Guides indicated. Well, maybe, how about that? That might be better. Well, that's the problem with it. And that was also, that was the thing of it, though. That was the thing of it. Yeah, already, man. So, for the second one, no. I can hold off. There's certain kinds of intimacy promotions. I already done this deeds. I'm sorry. It was just something that happened. I don't know what to tell you. I'm advocating for those that means you guys need to be protected. You guys need or set a coin. No. Yeah, so there's that sort of thing where I've been put in certain situations where I may seem in other dimensional existences to be darker than I am, or even a little more kooky, to a certain extent. What does that mean about the kookies that we know about and the darker aspects of others? Is it looking that way? Does it seem that way? Why does it seem that way? Is there an explanation regarding that? Does it fit the bill? Is it not? There's not something off. There's things like that, and looking at that sort of thing, it matters greatly. It kind of explains, like, okay, so if this is the case, then that's, I don't know what to say. That's it. We need more resources, support, supplies, and amenities. The way Mr. Guides indicated, for break's sake. I don't know why. That day, I played some gaming that day. That was quite fun. That was just Saturdays. Yeah. Gaming. I'm advocating for gaming to be protected. I'm advocating for dark blue, blonde, psychictivity, feng shuiers, clarifications, mixing, attractions, pain management, ideas, gaming, communications, tolerance, monies, and motivation to be protected. I'm advocating for money creation and treasure creation to be protected. Pure monetary debris. Okay, well, that would be wise. Holy smoke. This is one of those things. I'm advocating for motivation to be protected, as indicated. You don't know why. You don't know why. The way we felt about it. Yeah, but that's someone else doing that. And that's how I feel about it. I'm not meaning to hurt spirits and harm them. I'm advocating for those who means you guys needed to be protected. You guys needed. All right then. For time and effort in regards to reading and understanding fans, that means you guys needed to be protected. That means you guys indicated. I'm advocating for those people. Maybe for interest and fascination to be protected. That means you guys indicated. I'm advocating for happiness to be protected. That means you guys indicated. It was one of those days where I was happy. Yeah. And for purpose and forgiveness to be protected. That means you guys indicated. And this was Vision Wave. This was, sort of on my day off. I'm advocating for banners, contemplation, medical observations, conflict, so-called physical conflict management, dimensions, and others from its guides to be protected. So it was one of those things where I felt contemplation. So contemplation is potentially this mechanism, this spiritual mechanism that we can do at times, and it's one of those things that we can potentially in regards to some of it, depending on how it's situated, how it's set up. Create certain kinds of existences by way of contemplation. contemplation. For some, they're like, okay, but sometimes it's just thinking and thoughts. Yes, some people consider thoughts and thinking to be contemplation. In fact, a certain referral, a certain layer to it has been situated in that sort of way where it is let know that it is contemplation and thoughts. And it is a certain thought mechanism too. I mean, that was also it, but there's a behind the scenes sort of thing to it. I think about the words imaginings, ponderings, and imaginations, as well as contemplation. Now, you think about thinking, you think about thoughts, and for contemplation and some of this stuff, even ponderings, to a certain degree, there is that sort of thinking, is potentially a part of it. But there's potentially more to it than that. And I felt as a psychic, I've seen these sort of existences by way of contemplation and certain kinds of dreaming. Well, I don't know if it's dreams, but certain kind of imagery, a certain kind of dimensional existence. I am at for contemplation realms that misguessed needed to be protected. Misguessed needed. I'm at for contemplation realms to be protected. Misguessed needed. So there's certain contemplations in regards to Alex James Hislop. I and others from Instagram are out for the contemplation ideas that misguessed needed, as well as the contemplations that means guys needed to be protected, defended, and healed, as well as etc. to find from Instagram guides. So means guys needed the contemplation groupings that means guys needed regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Instagram guides to be protected. When Instagram guides indicated, it's one of those things, to a certain extent. Yeah, that day was fairly, and one of the things I saw that day was this vision wave. I was sort of, playing a video game, and I started seeing this vision. And somebody even said, it's like, you have a lot of anger to work out. I was like, I kind of thought about in what way. And well, before that, I kind of thought about in what way. And this beforehand, there was contemplations. I'm putting two and two together here. And contemplations, I started doing contemplations, and certain kind of contemplations you could do, you could potentially create around it. Imagine if you're thinking about healing everybody on Earth, that there's a certain kind of contemplation layer that's created, or that there's one already there that's affected. I mean, what would that cause? I mean, some of the anti-camp contemplation layers are decent. Hey, we can come up with contemplation layers to stave in certain kinds of ways. A certain kind of gaming existences for some. For others, not necessarily so. I mean, this is the real true of it. Okay, a little bit of Benjamins, a little bit of Benjamins. Is Benjamins just a bit greener? I mean, is a little bit different? a little bit different than dollars, eh? Okay, we do this one. Credits, man, credits. Yes, of course, some credits. Because I'm creating monetaries with my hand right now. Some people are saying that's the thing. It's the real term. All right, fine. That was the truth of it. This is the case of this. It's not meant like that. Some people might have difficulties, feeling like that might be the case, but there's certain kind of impressions that we can do, and by doing certain impressions, we might be creating things behind the scenes. So that means, like, what do you think in regards to, and I'm adding for my layers in regards to myself to be protected, the way you guys indicated. Just because I don't utilize a certain kind of mechanism doesn't mean that mechanism shouldn't be there for what's acceptable. And everyone think, well, you think about what's acceptable does matter, but that is true. Those ones that you want and they doesn't deserve, just because you don't utilize it. Well, yeah, you think about the issue of, like, for certain spirits who promote immorality or morality, just because you don't promote morality, all of a sudden you not being able to promote immorality again or morality, and vice versa. I mean, that's the truth of it. That's the sort of stuff. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand that there's things like that, and it is a system, but I am asking for what these guys needed regarding it, the way these guys indicated. Providing for the outside in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Instagram guides to be situated the way these guys needed. Live existences, people. That was why. That was why. Because there's some spirits outside hanging around. No. Oh. Okay, so that was definitely the bad guy there doing that look right there. The bad one was kind of like, okay, I think. When I looked there at it, I kind of feel like kind of feel like a certain kind of operator got shot here. But for the operators, that means you guys need to be protected. These guys indicated. I think maybe it wasn't a bad guy. Maybe neither are. Okay. I know there's from guys are asking for clarifications regarding it to be displayed around those whom he says needed. With that being said, I felt contemplation. I felt doing certain kind of contemplations that day. There was this contemplation hookup that happened right at the end of my contemplation session, and I was just kind of like, it was kind of like this alien kind of attack kind of thing, and I was like, whoa! And I kind of just basically, I kind of thought of like, I kind of contemplated what would happen if I just let know of what I knew spiritually to those whom you guys indicated, and I thought that that would be a decent one. It wasn't. I didn't go buck wild. I didn't like. I think that was somewhat decent. I mean, for someone else, it is. But that would be why. That's what you played there. True. Sort of the sage. The sage. Hey. Well, but some people don't consider it. This is the case of this. Some contemplations people are using as living life, and some people are more gaming experiences, right? So contemplation. I'm adding for contemplation to be protected. That means you guys indicate. I'm for contemplation beings' rights. That means you guys need to be protected. That means you guys indicate. It really does matter. I'm out for research technology to be protected. I'm out for spiritual update. Letting know spiritual. Yeah. That was one of the things. One of the things I did in one of the contemplations was researching technology, like researching what kind of technology exists out there, and it was physically and spiritually. That was some of it. It was sort of working on that aspect of it. I'm for like I said, well, I already did applications in regards. So, and then one of the other ones was a spiritual update, letting know spiritually, researching spiritualists, letting them know via big email what I know, and that sort of thing. Does matter greatly. It's one of those things, and doing it in the live time where I got to work on just as much to have that be created. I think that that's a little bit unfair. I think that we should be able to do it in the speeds of HSS Negated, especially especially near if it's getting on near the end of my life. I think that certain things should be facilitated. I might for my ears to be protected as needed. I and others divine marine spirit guides are advocating for biggest defense regards to certain contemplation allowances is that I have towed the line in ways that I can't indicate, and what has been contemplated in regards to myself and others. Contemplation research in regards to what has happened to planet Earth, especially the humans who inhabit it. I think that one of the things that it's been this is that for in contemplation regarding certain spiritual existences, that there might be certain kind of accords, but we don't have access to some of those accords. We don't have access to some of the understandings in regards to that. So safeguards regarding that need to stay. That not needs to take away. In fact, we needed, I think, more in regards to some of it. And in the ways in which guys indicates, there's this sort of thing that's hidden behind in regards to safeguards. Everyone's just gets like safeguards, and it's not necessarily that. There's that sort of thing where it's like, I don't think it needs to be that per se. I know that people don't necessarily like red tape. Heck, I might be one of them to a certain degree. We talk about some red tapes. So the idea of using likes. I and others from Mixed Guides are advocating for the mixing that Mixed Guides need. There was something that happened also on the 9th. So I'm advocating for the mixing of bodies and things that Mixed Guides indicated to be situated the way Mixed Guides indicated. This is the thing of this. We do know and think we know in regards to certain things and feelings. I know that at times I felt that sort of thing where I've been placed in a certain kind of mixing thing where the shaping of my physical is going to be affected and that sort of thing. Imagine that there's things like that behind the scenes where all of a sudden that sort of thing where it's like you grow older and your nose gets a bit bigger, that sort of thing, or that sort of thing, that there's shapings in regards to that. All of a sudden, I know there's some weird stuff that people can do, and it's just like for a quick second, and that's the problem with it, though, is that it really does affect things. There's actual things that are affected potentially for what's acceptable in regards to it. It matters greatly. I'm out for my nose to be protected, which as indicated. I'm out for ASL sign to be protected, which as indicated. I'm out for features to be protected. My main spirit guides indicated. I and others who my main spirit guides indicated heavy for protection for ASL signing the way my main spirit guides indicated. I'm ready for ASL sign and sign language should be protected. Wait, which guys needed. I'm advocating for the digital feng shuiers that makes us needed to be protected, that makes us needed. I'm advocating for the assistance that makes us needed to present itself where makes us needed in the ways that makes us needed, indicated the way makes us needed. I'm advocating for indication to be protected, makes us needed. I'm advocating for indicated to be protected, makes us needed. So yeah, yeah. When that happened, I kind of felt like there was just some sort of radiation kind of thing, another dimensional sort of thing that happened around me. Afterwards, after the contemplation, it was right after I seen this vision, or right before. I don't know if it was before or after, but I think it was right after potentially. And I saw this vision, and there was this vision, this wave, and it was right after the spirit had chimed in and said, uh, "You have a lot of anger to work out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I do." It's like you probably want to, vent some of that anger at times. And I'm like, "Well, I didn't say you want to vent that anger at times, but it's one of those things where I started thinking about it. I'm like, oh yeah, like we do thought mechanisms and things like that, and it's alrighty then. Well, that's why we lose there. Oh, it's one of those times where I was like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, would I be like some sort of knight on an army? Because I was playing medieval games, so I kind of thought like kind of thought maybe doing certain kind of like sword play with certain kind of knights. But I was like, no, it's got to be something. I thought it'd probably be something different, like me being a god just laying waste to certain kind of armies and a certain kind of video game experience and that stuff like that. And all of a sudden this wave of a vision passed over me, and it's just this wave of dirt and kind of knocking back whoever the heck it was who was in front of me. It kind of happened in this direction here. And yeah, I don't know what to tell you, but I wish people were okay. I'm asking for what Means Guys indicated in regards to that moment of the vision wave that Means Guys indicated pertaining to February 10th, 2019, the way Means Guys indicated. More psychic activity, let knows, and I think a decent in regards to it. Let's see what else. So yeah, that was that day. The new players. This day was such a changer in regards to my life. It really did change everything. So it was one of those times where I was starting to be. I've been starting to be aware of something that I've been calling like the live perspective or a live perspective. Some people might say the live or the the heightened live or a certain kind of live. They may call it a different kind of lives because I think that there is one. So it's like live. What does that mean? Well, I'm not talking about like lives as in like life lives. I'm talking, and it might be. It is. It can be called that. And it can be considered that. But I am talking about. It can be considered that. But I am talking about one that's like recording live, like that sort of thing. If there's something in regards to when you're recording that's live, and there's something there, and that's what's amazing about it is that it's almost a part of it. There's an impression in regards to when you're recording live content, and there's this like it's a certain kind of clarity and focus. It really is. There is something there, and imagine for the clarity and focus in regards to other recordings in regards to what remains guys need to be protected. The way Main Guides indicated, light, power, light, setting, which doesn't light, doing which doesn't indicated regarding it, the way Main Guides indicated. But I've sort of noticed that there's a live, a live thing happening, and well, at times it doesn't mean that you're. Well, I'm wondering because I talk about live tracks and recording at times. We talk about lives. Holy, exactly, Alex. Holy smoke. I've talked about life recordings, how something could be recording your life in a way where later on someone could potentially live your incarnation again. Imagine that. Or even just live in a certain kind of roller coaster track of your life in a certain kind of way. There's just that one. And it's just this idea. I felt this perspective, this focus and awareness come around me at times. I call it like feels like it's in the live, like it feels like there's a heightenedness around me, like I'm looking off a cliff, and whoa, and it's just one of those things, um, and it's just one of those things where psychic activity. I'm waiting for my psychic activity that makes us need to be protected. That makes us need to for the psychic activity of those that makes us need in regards to my all personal to be protected. Makes us needed. I have done advocations in regards to my all personal, this past week. I am advocating for the Andorian clans that makes us need, and the Andorian families that makes us need to be protected, defended, and healed. This was etc. to Father Answer Guides when makes us need. I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to the nations of Andoria that makes us need to be displayed where makes us needed. When makes us needed. I do apologize. I don't mean to upset anyone, but I did utilize that sort of word in regards to certain kinds of families that makes us needed. The way makes us needed. With that being said, so yeah, new players, live perspective. So there's been this sort of thing where there's folds at times where I felt sim-like experiences where I got to like sandpaper in the hand and that sort of thing. There's been other things too as well. Feng shuiing, overlapping layers is another one. This overlaps of layers where you certain kind of things happen, beginnings and endings in regards to it, spawning certain spirits in certain areas, incarnation, things like that. And throughout it all, there's been this sort of let know that there is this live perspective at times in a certain kind of area that at times there might be certain people who have this kind of live dimensional perspective, and some of which I don't know if everyone has it. It's that sort of thing where we have potentially other dimensional selves. And I can feel it move in the vicinity in certain moments in my life. When I walk into it, I'm just like, okay, so there's a lot of people watching right now. I feel like the live's on me. It's also that. It's also a certain kind of recording equipment, I think, from spiritual, other dimensional kind of thing, too, to a certain extent. You ever feel like heightened and there's a spotlight on you and there's this, sometimes it comes in together. Like I'll feel a heightenedness, but also feel that spotlight. I'll feel that a certain kind of, I'm being put on the spot here spiritually to a certain extent, and not put on the spot, but it can be decent ways. Sure. I'm going with what Main Spirit Guides indicate regarding it. Main Spirit Guides information getting through is vitally important. It really is. And no, yeah, it is important. Anyhow, some new players, just moments of quick mood swings and story extending a bit. Was high plane culture. Yeah, that was later on. First, one come to label. Yeah, this one too. This one was messed up as well. I am advocating. So as this live sort of happened, I woke up and decided I'm going to go to Tim's. I'm going to go to Tim Hortons. I'm going to go chill out there. I'm going to do some writing. And when I got, as I woke up though, there was this, and I decided to go later on. There was this heightened liveness to life, and there's this sort of let know that there is spirits who sort of look at it in a certain way that that you're looking at a certain kind of live where you can do certain things. Where when this is in the vicinity, or when you're able to feel this sort of things, you're able to do certain things, and that there is potentially bad ones out there. There was a let know that there is potentially some bad stuff potentially happening in certain one of them. And some people were looking at it in a certain game kind of perspective. Other people were looking at it in a sort of life perspective. There really was that sort of thing. And what's amazing about it is that, living the high life is what people were saying. You're living the high life now as soon as you saw it. But, was I always living, who's living? That's one of those things. It's one of those things, though, that's talked about. We talk about higher selves. We talk about that sort of thing. It's not new. If it is that's one of those things, then it matters greatly if there's like another life being lived anyhow, regardless. But I don't know if it is. Some people might not have it and some people do. All right, then. That was the case of this. And I'm sorry, but this is just used as an excuse. That's the problem. If you talk about it can be, though. It doesn't it? You don't know why it is. You are correct, actually. And I haven't been too bad about it, but, anyhow, with that being said, there is certain things and advocationals. Yeah, so I sort of realized that this live perspective was on me, and they're like, this folds, the folds have done what they can, it gets to a certain point. I'm at it for the reputation. I'm at it for the defense that Main Spirit Guides negated, and the reputational defense that Main Spirit Guides need to be displayed where Main Spirit Guides negated. The Main Spirit Guides negated. It doesn't mean that. This is the truth of it. I feel like there's certain situations in life where it's like, there's only so much we can do, and that's why. But there's many different reasons why. Yes, I think to a certain degree it's a bit unfair because in another dimensional perspective, I have been certain things. I have been put in certain life. And yeah, but that's the truth of it. So I think that the fold spirits and overlap spirits, they've been doing their jobs. They've been doing their thing, and they still do at times. It's still been. Wait a second. I've seen, it hasn't always been the live, feeling this live perspective at times for what's acceptable, or at least feeling it, because that does matter too. And feeling that, remember, there's other dimensional who are able to potentially feel some of that stuff. Yeah, it matters. It matters greatly. Anyhow, it's one of those things where it matters greatly. I am sorry. I don't mean to upset. But I'm advocating for what Main Spirit Guides negated regarding the lives that Main Spirit Guides negated and the live that Main Spirit Guides negated, the way Main Spirit Guides negated. It's one of those things where I talk about life itself, and I think I have at times, felt certain kind of live in regards to life, itself. And so when you do that, it's like, okay, so what does that even mean? I mean, well, yesterday I did do big advocations in regards to life itself being protected, in regards to clarifications. I did big advocations in regards to Earth and planets and things of that nature. They don't deserve to be attacked. And this is the thing of this. People who usually do that, Oh, that would be what would be why. Well, it's not that unheard of a thing though. This is also it is that there is physicals out there who do things like this, and where it's not necessarily considered unclout, where it is just it's not something that should be I feel attackable, not attackable, but attacked for doing clarifications in regards to your home planet. One of them at least doing clarification, well, and potentially more. Doing clarifications in regards to life itself, the life track that you're on. Wait a second. I mean, what the heck? You talk about going to the light or magnificence and things like that. I mean, it's the same thing. When I go to the light, doing an advocation for the light to be protected, okay, but doing an advocation for a certain magnificence, the other dimensional counterparts. I mean, wasn't it the other dimensional, sort of, had a bone to pick with some of that? It's like, well, wait a second. Why can't we do advocations in regards to that? It was the same sort of thing applied in regards to certain things. Life itself is one of those ones I think that can fall in that category. And I have for the light not to take the hit for this because you know what? This is the thing of this. People do advocations at times, and we only want it to be done, the way my main spirit guides indicate in regards to this marketing advocation, etc. My main spirit guides. My main spirit guides indicated. And that would be why. I'm advocating for life itself to be protected. These guys need, well, I'm advocating for, the advocations that means guys need on February 13th, 2019 to be protected. It means guys need, I am advocating for Alex PC Fembo 44 to receive the daily resources and support that means you guys indicated, the women's guys indicated, light, far light, sending them guys indicated, light, misleading, Miffy, etc. Departments guides, big square, little square, minute square, etc. Departments guides, Benji and Alon. Look at the reasons why you don't have to work against Alex PC and Alex PC Fembo 44 and do what my main spirit guides indicated regarding it. All right, well, that would be the end of that. That was, okay, so that's a decent now. You understand why, though, it is that it works this way. I mean, this PC doesn't, you don't have to, there's certain spirits who sometimes like to, want to influence certain situations in certain kinds of ways. I don't know if this is called for at all. I mean, this is also it, people. This is the true here. So, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. How you respond in this process matters greatly. And over there, if possible, that would be decent. Again, I'm pulling from another. I'm pulling from certain dimensional existences here that makes you guys indicated, pulling the communication that makes you guys indicated, the way we guys indicated. So, I mean, it does matter. So, this live perspective, I went into town and I felt like this live perspective become heightened. I felt like I was, there was a certain kind of air, a certain kind of breathing to it that I could feel, this dimensional feeling. As a psychic, I was like, okay, so what does this mean? What dimensional area am I in? And what does that mean about the other ones? About that, what happened earlier? Was that sort of like it's getting to that point where I'm moving in certain directions. And if you look at reasons why you don't have to attack him, like, I mean, one of the things that I'm admitting on this content and have let know in regards to it is, certain, ways we can go about, promoting certain kinds of things. Reasons you don't have to work against me to a certain capacity. There is a section in regards to it. There is things like that. And, I don't know what else to say, but, it's not meant to upset. It's not, and with all that feng shui in regards to it being on that way, it's still, there's still that. And it still exists. It'll always exist. And that's the case of it. Well, I still believe that it is. This is the case of my faith. All right, then. Because that's what they said. That was what they said. I've situated my communications multiple times, man. All right, so that would be why. My higher light self should have access to my process the way you guys indicated. My higher selves that makes you guys indicated should have access to my process the way makes you guys indicated, as well as other processes that makes you guys indicated. That's the thing of this. I mean, that's also it. This there's 5 people and only like 2 higher selves can be able to, have access to them, and leaving that opening makes no sense for me. It makes no sense for those that makes you guys indicated. As much as I care about the dimensional existences, and I do, light, far light, setting the makes you guys indicated, light display, Alex James Hislop's reputational defense in regards to the dimensions that makes you guys indicated, the way makes you guys indicated, in the areas that makes you guys indicated, the way makes you guys indicated, and embed some of it, that makes you guys indicated some of the information on this, continue to do the embedment that makes you guys needed on this AJH Daily Defensives Content, February 14th, 2019, the women's guys indicated, because this is what's going to be then. And you don't know why now. That's because I'm out for the apocalypse. I'm going to be situated where you guys indicated them. You really did. What's the problem with it? Yeah, this is the thing of it, though. I don't know why. You don't think there's things like that? You always have to be in there, right? That's why. Well, I don't know what you want from me, man. Just doing my thing. I mean, this is the case of this. Well, that would be why. I'm sorry, but you can't say that you shouldn't be famous. Jesus. Is that an open channeling spirit saying that? For freak's sake. That's kind of how I feel about it. I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's things like that. I'm in that way. I like this. I'm in that way. Much or harm. I and others from Instagram guides are advocating for also wait. I didn't realize. There we go. Yeah, I'm advocating for the intimacy disclaimers and the intimacy defense of Ms. Hasney pertaining to February 14th, 2019, to be protected. Ms. Hasney. Okay, so what else? What else was it? Yeah, so I went to Tim's and it was just crazy. Another crazy thing, it kind of felt like a green dragon. Another dimensional, like a green dragon kind of puked on me in another dimension. And I don't know, I know that's crazy, but it really did kind of feel like something happened and something moved into my body. And, and that would be why. That's the case of this. And that would be why now. Okay, then. And I think it was a warning shot to a certain extent, and I think that was also one of those things where maybe it was giving me leeway. I don't know, depending on what it is. What it said was to have done was, well, I don't know. I don't really know what it was, but to be quite honest, I'm hoping people are okay in regards to it. That's another informational overlap. Is that it? Maybe, but that's also it. I mean, how many other things in regards to that sort of thing? Matter for a Bunyan head that Mace has needed, and those that Mace has needed in regards to be protected. Mace has needed. Matter for the dragons that Mace has needed to be protected. Mace has needed. Matter for the warnings that Mace has needed to be protected. Mace has needed. It's also one of those things that they said it's a warning in regards to this process, a certain kind of caution tape. And that's also it. And that would be it, Matter for the informational movers and shakers that Mace has needed to be protected. Mace has needed. Matter for Euphoria to be protected. Mace has needed. Light, far, light, setting, Mace has needed. Light, doing Mace has needed in regards to those that Mace has needed. Mace has needed. Okay, well, that would be why. All right, that was what he said. Imagine for a let knows and Euphoria is protected. The women's guys indicated. All right, fine. That was really what he said here. You really did feel like he was okay, yeah. So that was the thing of it. You did do a thing yesterday, though. I did do I did advocate for certain deployments to happen in regards to Euphoria and others from Insert Guides. Some which had to do with certain villains that were caught behind in certain lines and things of that nature. I did. One of the things I want to advocate for in regards to that is psychological defense and psychological, if possible, safeties in regards to what inmates guys needed, women's guys needed, gear, psychological defense gear, and others from Instagrams. The women's guys needed. All right, fine. Yeah, that day was fairly messed up. It kind of felt like there's a lot of people around me. There was a lot certain things that felt like happened to me. I felt like I got attacked that day, and that's the thing of it. Not meant like that. It's just that's the thing of it, Oh yeah. All right, fine. That is what he said in regards to February 11th, 2019. I'm advocating for the safeguards and safeties in regards to those that Mainstream guys indicated to be put into play the way Mainstream guys indicated. Alex James Hislop and others from Mainstream guys saying this, the way Mainstream guys indicated. So yeah, the idea is I'm advocating for positivity people who like to be playfully attacked in certain ways, and different ways to do that. I imagine like being able to use certain kind of stress balls. Imagine certain spirits who like that sort of thing, who like being like used as a stress ball and things like that. But in a playful, well, it could be in a playful way, but it could also be like where some people don't want to experience pain or things like that, where it's not necessarily harmful and where it can still be used as a stress reliever, and it's still better than nothing. I mean, at least you can pin cushion a certain kind of spirit, just feeling like, I just want to punch him in the face, things like that. But when you punch him in the face, it's just like his nose kind of just like he's okay though. It doesn't really doesn't hurt his nose too badly, but you still get that kind of vent in the that kind of still got to be able to punch a certain spirit in the face. It kind of felt like that anyway. And there's those things. I'm for those things to be protected when he I'm for the different ways of invoking that sort of thing to be protected when he needed. I'm advocating for positivity people who like to be. I'm advocating for new players and games revealed live forefront and others from Mr. Guide to be protected when he I'm advocating for drop zone LZ jumps and resources to be protected when he I'm advocating for supplies, emergency containment. and outside the box thinking that makes us need to be protected. Makes us need a method for keys, coherency, focus, and happiness to be protected. Makes us need advocating for evil, vigilantism, care, kindness, and compassion to be protected. Makes guys needed. Advocating for recharge, physical afterlife, understanding, motive, stability, grims, and others from answer guides to be protected. Makes us need. It kind of felt like a certain kind of physical afterlife yesterday was said to have been attacked. I don't know if that's the case. It wasn't the first time that it was said. It's been said to a certain degree before. I think maybe a day or a couple days before. So there is that sort of thing. I am advocating for the physical afterlife. So that means you guys need to be safeguarded and protected. It means you guys need. It might be one of those things that's being said to have people think that it's not. And it's one of those afterlives that I look at. I'm like, no, that ain't gonna. This is the thing. If it's that the physical afterlives that means you guys indicated are not gonna go down without a fight. There's no way. It's just one of those things. That's like, I mean, not only that, but we talk about dimensional existences, and it's just one of those things, man. It's no way it's gonna. It's got a lot of defense, man. A lot of defense. Yeah, I mean, well, I do. It's actually, I think it's in regards to some of that, similar. There's a certain kind of past in regards to certain dimensional existences where, if you could traverse to the past or the future and things of that nature, imagine there's a certain past that was given like the amount of resources that if anything came at it, it's just you never heard from them again, and that's one of those things, and it's a mentality and a way of life, not a way of life mentality, but it's a certain kind of thing, a concept that exists. It's that sort of thing where it's like you go in that cave, man, and you're never going to be seen again, and it really is. This is the real truth. This is the real truth. Holy shit! Do you know this one? Yeah, you can say it, but I wouldn't. You don't know why it is, because that's why. That wasn't why. I do give tells and things of that nature, but there's others who can let know of it. You don't know why it is. Not that. That can't be that one. Not that one, man. That's old dog, man. That's old dog. That's the problem. That is how he felt about it. Okay, so that was why. Okay. Well, I don't know where else you want me to go. What do you want from me? Madam for what we just needed in regards to those that we just needed, women just needed. Matter for the trainers and that we just needed to be situated the way we just needed. That's where we feel about it. And there was something that happened this day too, where there was this thing that was brought back to a certain extent from this Storybrooke sort of thing. And I remember seeing this sort of thing in Storybrooke. The Storybrooke was this moments in my life, a whole year where I felt like my psychic activity might be mental illness, because I was looking at it and I was like, okay, what exactly is it that I'm experiencing? And for a good year there, I didn't know if it was mental illness. I believed in what I was experiencing. This is the case of this. I didn't at times throughout it, there was a couple moments where I'm like, is this real? Is this stuff real? And the one thing that brought me back every time was love. Love was always it, and this is the truth of it. Love always made it, and helped me get out of that place. And, thank God for it. Spirits were tormenting me in a certain kind of way. And they're like, well, but that was also it. And that would be why. That was the case of it. And I get it. You don't want me to hear from me in regards to some of that for a while now. It's just like, you know what? But if I didn't have to at times, and I know some people like, you don't have to at times. And I'm like, okay, but am I supposed to, this is it. And it's, well, wait a second. There's been certain times throughout my life where I have been attacked in a certain kind of way, and there's been this sort of like, yeah, but you haven't been attacked. But yeah, I have. And, you keep saying that, but, I don't know. The way you feel about me pulling from that, how is it that nobody has said that in regards to the other one? Because a bunch of people have, because that's why, all right, you fine. You don't know why. Then that's what we said. Which one's more flimsy? And that was the case of it. And that was the case of that. That was why. It's not meant like that, but well, no, it's meant like I'm not trying to go for jugglers, Anyway, I also remember a certain kind of thing happening, and one of the things that it sort of came around one day during Storybrooke was these certain greens that were supposedly able to traverse a karma in a certain kind of way, where they still looked green but could traverse a certain kind of a karmic threshold. up and down, and bouncing is one of the things that I sort of looked at it from. Certain kind of slinkies that continue to slinky on, and they're whimsical. They are, they're positive at times. They're a certain kind of spirit, and I labeled them, the special greens of Heckish, and it's one of those. I just came up with the name of it not too long ago. It was on the 11th. I'm advocating for what means guys indicated in regards to those that means guys indicated pertaining to the special greens of Heckish, the way means for guides indicated. They're one of those things that I looked at. I'm like, I am a little bit afraid of you, like this, not a little bit, like that's kind of how I feel about it a bit. And it's not meant to upset. It's just there's a certain kind of thing in regards to it, and they like to be playful, but they're also like neglectful. It's one of those things where it's like, oh, you like to if you like to beat someone up. It's like okay, well, and so all of a sudden it's well, for some of them it might be, and I don't know how that works per se, but I think that there's a certain kind of positivity element. It feels like it maybe came from something. A certain kind of positivity that was upset one day, or something that emerged, or something that happened. And, I don't know what to say about it, but it was one of those ones where it's like certain society, like even armies that are like, oh crap, not these guys. And they come in, and it's just like a goddamn ruckus, Humvees going flying, and, people like shooting everywhere, but it's just going everywhere. And they just like grab the guns, throw it away, and you're just running away. It's just like, it's a madhouse kind of, sort of shit that I'm talking about. It's like, you could have like whole organized armies trying to do their thing, and it's like, okay, now we got to deal with these goddamn what now? It just doesn't ever it hasn't stopped, and it's like angels, demons, goddamn it. It's one at times but it's been fairly contained at times for what's acceptable, and there's some people who like that culture for what's acceptable. I mean, that's also it. For what's acceptable. I mean, I do, but I'm scared at times. It's like, whoa. I mean, I'm insane, because that's why. There's always something at the end, and it's just one guy smiling or something like that, and it's just like, ooh. And then you gotta look up, it's like, really higher? Is that it? For freak's sake, that's the thing of it, because that's also it. Sorry. All right, fine. You are like that. I don't mean to be upsetting about it. Maybe it was. You never know. I'm not saying it's not, but what's acceptable. Anyhow, what else now? Yeah. But yeah, so it was this sort of thing that presented itself. And I went really sort of brimstone what I decided to do in regards to some of them, because it was one of those things that I did not want to deal with. And I was already dealing with, there were certain things happening which were already freaked out anyhow. I'm adding for what Mainster guides indicated regarding youth protectorates and youth guardians that Mainster guides needed, as well as understanding the ailments that Mainster guides needed, as well as the likes and dislikes that Mainster guides needed, the way Mainster guides needed. I'm adding for psychology and psychological defense, the way main spirit guides indicated. I call upon those that main guides indicated pertaining, to the storylines that main guides indicated, especially in regards to, some of the themes that main guides indicated pertain to this marketing application etc. Departments or guides. So main guides indicated. Alrighty, Alex. Like, that was why. Is that what you're gonna do? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. We might not. That'll be the problem with it. Anyhow, and so what I went with there, I went with Grimm's, and I was like, I'm after the Grimm's. I mean, I knew of them to a certain extent, and I thought maybe, and yeah, I think that it did work to a certain extent. That's kind of how I feel about it. That was the problem with this, Alex. He called upon the Grimm's that his main spirit guides indicate, and that was the thing of it. They would have to go high up on it, and that was the truth. All right, well, that was why then. All right, look, we try to help, though. We try to help. We don't deserve to be attacked. That is a true for what's acceptable. I'm happy for what makes you guys need regarding it. All right, there's certainly, like I said, there's certain spirits who like to be, a certain kind, a certain. All right, fine. Anyhow, I'm advocating for the Grims that makes you guys need to receive the resources and supplies and support and protection that makes us needed in the moments that makes us needed, when makes us needed. Light, fire, light, setting that makes us needed. Light, do what makes us needed in regards to it. Light, fire, light, setting that makes us needed. Light. Protect the Grims that makes us needed, the way makes us needed. I'm advocating for rainy, stoicism, and storms that makes us needed to be protected. Makes us needed. I'm advocating for the Watchers and the let knowers that makes us needed, the way to be protected. Makes us needed. I'm advocating for help in regards to dire, the way makes us needed. Anyhow, new players. So there was that day. The next one was forgiveness, and so it was actually. Yeah, this one was another. This was another one that said that something bad was potentially taking place behind the scenes. Again, it was another day where it was something was crazy, something was happening, and just one of those days. This was February 12th, 2019. I'm asking for the awareness in regards to February 12th, 2019. To be women's guys negated, the women's guys negated. I'm asking for safeguards and safeties as well as explanational prowess in regards to those that means guys negated, the women's guys negated pertaining to February 12th, 2019. There was also something revealed in regards to my process pertaining to these past 2, 3, 4 days. And it's that sort of thing. It's like when you interact with this person, it really, there's something there. And, you got to be careful with how you proceed with it. Some of the classic, just attack them, harm them, that sort of thing is not necessarily what it looks like. And it's not necessarily a defense mechanism. It's one of those things where it's like there's literally like ramifications in regards to certain things. And that's the thing of it, is that it's not necessarily so exclusive. And then that's the true of it. And I'm not saying in regards to just physicals. I'm saying in regards to certain dimensional beings and things like that. I mean, it might be just one of the old ones, behind the scenes sort of things. Just like, yeah, we're just, it brings like a freaking hack. I indulge from spirit guides who are advocating for John of God to be protected. The women guides indicated, regardless of what happened and what happens, I still feel like he's, I had this sort of dream where I kind of felt like I was given some jewelry, and I don't know if I was looking at the jewelry when I wasn't supposed to, but I kind of felt like we were at some sort of last will and rights, and I don't think that it was per se now that I see it, but maybe it was sort of like something to sort of see, or something I was supposed to be there for some sort of spiritual, I don't know what it would be, let knows or something. But I found my old, a new one, a new Soulless Mystic pendant. I remember, I had lost it a while back, and I and others from Mr. Guides are advocating for the gods that means guys needed to retrieve my Soulless Mystic pendant. That means guys negated the women means guys negated. Advocating for the resources and support in regards to those that means guys negated pertaining to the gods that means guys negated the women means guys negated. I'm advocating for Soulless mysticism to be protected. The women guys indicated. Heck no. How was the case of that? Was why? Because everything you just did right now mattered. Because we're all watching now. And this is the case of this. They're trying to attack you. Certain spirits, well, again, they're trying to make it into that to be that negativity. I need positivity support here. The women's guides indicated. This is the thing of it. In talking about it, sometimes there is that sort of thing that happens. But, at what point are we not supposed to let know? At what point are we not supposed to say what's happening to us? And at what point is it just being used as an excuse to do more harm and hurt and vice versa? And we can't, is there not to blame in regards to vice versa? If people are using it in a positive sort of way or a neutral sort of way or a negative sort of way? I mean, at what point are the others not supposed to do the same thing? And is it something that takes hold and all of a sudden it's just negativity everywhere? Or is it, the opposite and all of a sudden it's positivity everywhere? And the balance is just like, bah, for Frank's sake. I'm not, just, anyway, because that was why they brought some people around here. Alex got a lot more to deal with. This is the case. Well, I'm advocating for the situating regarding the conflicts that Main guys needed to receive the resources that Main Spirit guides indicated. What is, like, holy, I'm right? No, you are correct. You wanted to hear that? No, no, I don't know. Well, that was why then. You know what? Never mind. Okay, then. Oh, that was the problem with it. Sorry, Spirit's kind of fighting a little bit here. I'm advocating for the, I'm a little bit peckish here currently. I'm advocating for the food mechanisms that means guys need to be protected. I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to what means guys need. So yeah, that was the 12th. 13th was sort of another one too. I woke up and wrote down some key things. What has been done to me and what I've done in the physical. What I feel is decent enough to allocate the allocation of things to be able to promote in regards to immorality and other concepts alongside in the way camp indicated. The reasons you don't want me to die, the reasons you don't have to kill me if you're out there. Certain spirits, have thought about it at times. I feel, I think there is that sort of thing, and it's not necessarily to be that. I mean, at times there is that sort of thing where death, that sort of thing that I think certain spirits. Sometimes need, certain people at times in certain moments in their life, there is such a thing as that where we need somebody back and we just can't, this was talked about earlier on, this was earlier on in 2016, 2017, something like that. It's to let know that not all death is it's a negative thing. And for some it is for some it's a positive thing. For people to see somebody who we, imagine being seen for billions of years while you're in a physical or existence or another dimensional existence. What would it be? Your loved ones. You haven't really been able to. If you haven't been able to talk to some of them, is there reasons why you can't talk to them? There's also things like that too. That inherent sadness, it still exists if it exists, and that's the truth. But if it doesn't, it's a decent to a certain degree for what's acceptable. Sadness shouldn't be attacked. I feel I think sadness should be facilitated. I'm glad that sadness is receiving the help and resources that means you guys indicated it's a decent of it. And that would be why. This is the case of it. I have the realism to have the access in regards to, Alex James Hislop's process in the ways that means you guys indicated. The way means you guys indicated. I have the realism that my main spirit guides indicated to have access to Alex James Hislop's process. The way means you guys indicated. I'm having for story to have that means you guys needed to have access to Alex James Hislop's process. The way you guys indicated. I'm having for story to have access to Alex James Hislop's process in the ways that means you guys indicated. The way means you guys indicated. So it's just one of those things. I feel like evil, darkness, brimstone, anger, and hate, as well as disrespect, are not to blame in regards to certain endings and beginnings. The way you guys indicated, I'm adding for, I don't think positivity and authority, the morality and sometimes the leaders and the good, of people at times, as well as amorality, deserve to take the blame for it either. And some, I think that, this is the thing of this. This was why. I'm not for the leaders that makes you guys need. I don't think the leaders deserve to take the blame. I don't think the peoples do either. This is the case. We've talked about this endings, beginning stuff before, and it happens daily around me at times. We have a dimensional existence deployment where certain overlaps, going at a certain speed, a certain pace, and that's really, that's what times that's what it is. It's that sort of thing where they're going back and forth, and and then it's done, and that's it. And there's a reason for that to a certain extent. And I don't fully understand what those reasons are, but some of it has to do with, someone said was resources, but that's not all of it. No way is it all of it. One of the things I said in regards to this content, I advocate, I did print I think I did say this already, the AJHD time documents. Yeah, I did say that already. The AJHD, because that's why. Because that's the case of this thing. I don't know what else to say to you. It's not one of those, just because I let know in regards to it doesn't mean that. This is it. I have faith that there is. This is the real truth. I know that the physicals one is. This is the true real play. It's like there is that's you can always pull from that to a certain extent. Those that means guys indicated, I think, to a certain degree, right? Well, that would be why. It's one of those things, Alex. Well, I and others from Instagram Guides are giving permissions to those that means guys indicated in regards to Alex James Hislop and others from Instagram Guides, the way means guys indicated. Okay, so I and others from Instagram Guides give permission in regards to those that means you guys indicated, the way means you guys indicated. All right, fine. All right, fine. Here. Because that's why. Because we keep seeing you. That's what it's been. It's things like that where certain spirits go into the dimensional afterlife after living thousands of years, and then there's Alex James Hislop still sitting in, in the physical, and it's not exclusive actually to a certain in regards to certain spirits being extension moments. Regards, I'm advocating for the afterlife setup in regards to those that means guys indicate to be situated the way means guys indicate. I'm advocating for those that means guys indicate to have access to darkness that means guys indicate the way means guys indicate. I'm advocating for the ghosts that means guys indicated to be able to have access to what means guys indicate the way means guys indicated. And that one I think was in regards to light. Easy, man. Easy for a reason. And you don't know why that is. Because that's why, Alex. That's how people feel. This is what people have felt like. You don't know why. Because they're pulling from something. But at what point in time and how much has gone through, how much happened already in regards to certain things for people to be able to feel that way. There's an audience who sometimes it's difficult when I start to talk and converse and don't, when I'm talking about something that was insinuated or thought was there or a certain communication and advocating for the corn realms that makes us need to be protected. Makes us need another telepathic layer that I utilize, a certain kind of communication. This was one of those days where I was still stuck on. This is one of the tactics was to get me to just be stuck on certain things after the events of the day before, and so I do apologize. I am not meaning to be upsetting. I'm advocating for the master discretion issue discussions that makes guys needed pertaining to February 13th, 2019 to be situated the way makes guys needed. I'm advocating for the cast crew, etc. departments guides in regards to the films that makes guys needed to be protected the way makes guys needed. I'm advocating for yeah, it was good stuff. I'm advocating for memory, what now, mistrust, communication, belief, faith, industry, economics, villains, euphoria, teams, deployment, and safeties to be protected. You guys need to imagine for safeguards, positivity, forevers, vindication, square one, ground zero, earth contact, moving anyway, new players, game changer, memory, elder beings combined, all beings combined, and others from its guide to be protected. You guys need to imagine for Apoc, Earth Games, comedians, life itself, afterlife, before lifetime, entertainment, battle, grim monsters, smoke and mirrors, neglect, understanding, knowing, faith, and digital to be protected. Those are some of the themes that were there. Some of the conversations around grim monsters. There were certain dimensional beings. I'm advocating for what was going on in regards to February 13th, 2019. Targeting the dropping in certain moments and the disappearances that means guys needed. I'm advocating for what means guys needed regarding. I'm advocating for what means guys needed in regards to lost and found. The way means guys indicated. Found, man, found. Alrighty then. All right, so that would be why. I'm advocating for those that means guys indicated to receive the resources and support and defense. This is the case of this. This is the problem with it. That would be why. That's also it. Whatever then. Well, I did. Thank you. I'm advocating for belief beings that means guys needed to be protected. The means guys negated. I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to the head area that means guys needed. The way means guys needed. Light, far light, setting that means guys needed light. Alon, Benjian, Big Square, Little Square, Meta Square, Big Square, etc. Departments or guides. All magnificence that means guys indicated. Do what means for guides indicated for you to do in regards to this marketing application, etc. Departments for guides. What means for guides needed. So yeah, today's been interesting. I woke up, did some stuff. I'm advocating for clarifications in regards to the Fenbo let knows and information that makes sense needed. When says needed. I basically started recording this after I woke up. I did fall asleep after doing certain things in the early morning, and then woke up at around 10 or 11 and started getting to work on this. And so it's been it's a long video. I'm advocating for the coherency to be protected. We says need in regards to this video. I'm advocating for the feng shuing of energies that makes sense need in regards to the viewers that makes sense need to be situated. I'm advocating for resources in regards to my main camp, main scent, main guides, main spirit guides, etc. I'm advocating for my spirit guides. I'm advocating for my scent guides and spirit guides that makes sense need to be protected. Makes sense need. I'm advocating for protection in regards to it. That's true. Did print off AJHD 42 Frank Beach Road dimensional setup pertaining to past week. AJHD Georgina documents that makes sense needed. Multiple other documents too. AJHD anger management, that sort of thing helps spirits at times, and myself too in regards to certain kind of situations and conflict. Different kinds of disclaimers, testifications, and advocations that can help by way of defense, by way of helping behind the scenes and letting know of certain things in regards to your main spirit guides and things of that nature. Not to say that it needs to be relied upon for what's acceptable, because I feel like your main spirit guides information should suffice. But it still can be decent, I think, to a certain extent. I'm advocating for Earth to be protected. The women's guides need to get for those that means guys need to be protected. The women's guys negated. Trust me, this was also the one. I don't know why. Well, light, far light, setting the means guys need, light, do the means guys need in regards to those. That means for guys to get the means guys needed. And continue to do what means guys need in regards to this marketing application, etc. Upon means for guys, means guys needed. I'm advocating for safeties and safeguard in regards to the content experiences that means guys need, as well as the content platforms that means guys need, the means guys needed. I'm advocating for the construction that means guys needed to be defended, the way means guys needed. I'm advocating for creation support in regards to the content platforms that means guys needed, the way means guys needed. Okay, indeed. Suppose. Totally good.